program for government personnel and academics. Good afternoon at magandang hapon po. Welcome to First Contact, Bridging Space, Sustainability, and Society. I am Monica, and along with my colleague Marion, we are your COPFIL liaison officers. And this afternoon, I will be the MC for the first two segments of the program. This afternoon, we are honored to mark this important step in the COPFIL program. On this stage today, we will witness the ceremonial turnover of the Copernicus mirror site to the Philippine government, make the public's first contact with satellite imagery of the Philippines now accessible through this locally hosted mirror site, and recognize the first cohort of EU COPFIL Earth Observation trainees, Filipino professionals who completed technical courses supporting the pilot services, and who now form a part of a growing national pool of EO-skilled experts. These will be followed by a dialogue on gender in STEM, convening experts and advocates from government, academia, civil society, and international institutions. This final segment will examine how gender equity and inclusive practices drive innovation in the space and science sectors, in line with national and global commitments to expanding participation in high-impact scientific and technical fields. To officially begin, please all rise for the anthem of the Republic of the Philippines and the European Union. And the engineer Dennis Villorente, Deputy Director General for Space Operations, Infrastructure, and Industry at the Philippine Space Agency, for his welcome remarks.
Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. Good afternoon to our partners, distinguished guests, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Philippine Space Agency, I extend a very warm welcome to this significant gathering as we celebrate both a historic milestone under the National Copernicus Capacity Support Action Program for the Philippines, what we call COPFIL, and the broader aspirations during this celebration of Philippine Space Week. We are honored today to be joined by our partners whose collaboration and support has brought us to this point. The European Union delegation to the Philippines, represented today by Dr. Marco Gemmer, Head of Cooperation, and Ms. Maria Teron Puig, Program Manager. The Department of Science and Technology, represented by Assistant Secretary Rod Calzado. The DOST Advanced Science and Technology Institute, through their director, Dr. Franz de Leon. The European Space Agency, represented by their project manager, Dr. Kasper Fibeck. Members of the Diplomatic Corps, Minister Counselor and Deputy Head of Mission, Dragan Barbutovsky from the Embassy of the Republic of Slovenia, the Deputy Ambassador, Eva Tenzin of the Embassy of the Czech Republic in the Philippines, Executive Director and COO Leia Villalon of the National Youth Commission, Executive Director Lizelle Adame of the Center for Youth Advocacy and Networking, and Executive Director Liza Garcia from the Foundation for Media Alternatives. I would also like to recognize our colleagues from the CloudFaro, CLS, and other esteemed partners and institutions represented here. Your presence today is a reminder of what we can achieve through international collaboration and a shared commitment to advancing and leveraging space science and technology for the benefit of society. For this year's Philippine Space Week, we reflect on the theme, Yamang Kalawakan ay likas sa maunlad na kinabukasan, which recognizes the wealth of space as a natural and vital part of building a better future. It encompasses our growing local space ecosystem of people, institutions and companies, technologies, data and resources, and their interconnections that help farmers plan better harvests, provide images from above that guide our disaster response teams, tools that support environmental protection, and innovation that fuels our economy. We mark today's ceremonial turnover of the COPFIL Mirror Site, a locally hosted infrastructure that allows faster, more reliable access to critical satellite data from the European Union's Copernicus program. This capability is a strategic enabler, empowering our local institutions to act fast and confidently based on near real-time Earth observation insights. Most of us must be excited for the live walkthrough and demonstration of the Mirror Site's features and applications. To put this into perspective, the Mirror Site will allow the Philippines to, among others, monitor typhoons and floods in near real time, enabling faster disaster response and planning, track land subsidence in urban centers like here in Metro Manila, helping to inform infrastructure planning as well as risk mitigation, observe coastal marine ecosystems, supporting sustainable fisheries and marine biodiversity, and map forest and crop patterns, enhancing food security and resource management. Equally important as the infrastructure are the people who will bring it to life. Today, we also recognize the first cohort of EU COPFIL Earth observation graduates. We have Filipino professionals who have completed training and gained hands-on experience in maximizing the use of EO data in support of our 3 pilot services. They now form part of a growing national pool of EO skilled professionals ready to put data to work for the public good. Aligned with our goal of building an inclusive space ecosystem, this event also includes a dialogue on gender in science, technology, education, and math, engineering and math. As we mark this milestone, we are reminded of our broader journey to become a resilient, data-driven, spacefaring, and space-capable nation. Building a strong foundation with our infrastructure and people, we strengthen our role as a capable partner in the global space community. We've been gifted with this data infrastructure by our European friends. Let us make sure to take advantage of this enhanced level of access to Copernicus data to deliver useful products and services that positively impact people's lives and communities we serve. As your space agency or as your science ministry, we cannot do this alone. We need to work together to make this happen. Once again, marami pong salamat for being part of the celebration of progress, partnership, and purpose. We look forward to continuing this journey with all of you. Mabuhay po kayo and enjoy the rest of the program.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Director General Villorente. Truly, we can achieve great things in disaster risk reduction, climate resilience, and biodiversity protection through international collaboration in space. Next, we invite on stage Mr. Rodolfo Calzado Jr., Assistant Secretary for Development Cooperation of the Department of Science and Technology, for his opening remarks.
Ladies and gentlemen, dignitaries, colleagues, friends, and of course to all the names that you've heard before, we are again one step closer to our goal, preparing our citizens towards a sustainable future. It's my pleasure to join everyone in celebrating a milestone of our common goal of building resilience in communities. As a catalyst for national development, the Department of Science and Technology warmly and gratefully receives the Copernicus Mirror Site as an additional encouragement from the delegation of the European Union in the Philippines to transform our communities through empowered data-driven decision-making. Infinite data, infinite possibilities. The ceremonial turnover of Copernicus Mirror Site is a milestone of our partnership and commitment and vision to find limitless areas of collaboration between and among government partners, private sectors, and development agencies in the Philippines and across the region. Through the Copernicus Capacity Support Action Program for the Philippines, or COPFIL, we take a leap forward in our technological self-reliance. This is a recognition of what we call in DOST as agham na ramdam. This facility will showcase science not just as an abstract concept, but as a tool for transformation and development. It is more than just a collection of servers and hard drives. It is a fulfillment of a promise to generate better quality information that will drive resilience for the welfare of the people. It is an extra foundation to promote human well-being, create and protect wealth, and ensure sustainability for everyone. On behalf of the DOST, allow me to commend our DOST Advanced Science and Technology Institute, Director Franz, for consistently falling in love with the problem and ensuring that we continuously modernize technology to support productivity and resilience in the country. And allow me to extend our utmost gratitude to our co-lead, the Philippine Space Agency, and recognize their work in space science and Earth observation to help the Filipino as a community understand our planet and its environment as part of its vital role in national government. As we have always committed, we will work with all of you, our partners for change, to create equitable areas to the benefit of scientific progress and participation in its development. Once again, thank you and congratulations to all who made this a reality. Mabuhay po ang bagong Pilipinas. Thank you.
Thank you, Assistant Secretary Calzado. We are reminded that at the core of COPFIL is agham na ramdam, meaningful impact in the service of the Filipino. Now, we invite on stage Dr. Marco Gemmer, Head of Cooperation of the European Union Delegation to the Philippines, for his remarks. Dr. Marco?
Colleagues and friends, all protocols observed. Whoever was mentioned by DDG Dennis, if I forgot someone, please accept my apologies. And the good news, being the last speaker, is also I don't have to say what DDG Dennis and Asek Roth have said already. So instead of explaining you what COPFIL does or what Global Gateway is, let me maybe explain to you why the European Union has this quality partnership with the Philippines. All of you have a stake in space science, space technology, Earth observation, otherwise you wouldn't be here. I think there were many people who came in for the goodies only, but at least if we caught some of them and created the interest, it's good enough. But where are we coming from in this partnership? So when we think back 20 years ago, when we didn't have our European satellites in space, the Sentinels that are produced with our colleagues from the European Space Agency, and the private sector connected around the European Space Agencies, and the work with European Union member states and their own space agencies, or meteorological services and other government services. This is where 20 years ago we were working very closely in Europe to make Copernicus a reality. And I think this is a very important feature. Whatever goes wrong politically, the satellites are there, and we try to work on global public goods. You heard it, the application of government services in environmental protection, in climate change adaptation, forestry, agricultural management. I will not repeat what the colleagues have said. But now it's time to reach out and use Copernicus with our partner countries. And today's symbolic handing over of the Copernicus mirror site, having the presence of the private sector who worked with us on this one, is, I think, a very strong symbol of how we as the European Union have partnered with the Philippines in order for the Philippine people to make use of or benefit from the services of Copernicus, but also to develop the services, and now having a locally ownership of Copernicus in the Philippines. And I think it's also a strong signal that in this Philippine Space Week, the colleagues from the different government agencies have given us half a day of the program. I think this underlies the strong partnership we do have. And Philippine Space Agency being one of the partners where we cooperate on Copernicus is one example of it. But to underline again how important this partnership is, there are only 2 mirror sites of Copernicus in the world. One is in South America and the other one is now in the Philippines. So Philippines, with the heritage often regarded to as the country of the 7,600 islands, with a maritime 500-year history, is now suddenly on the space map. And I think this is well deserved because of the work of the colleagues in the Philippine Space Agency, DOST, all the agencies in academia, the Philippine private sector, together with the European colleagues from the public and private sector. This is why Philippine Space Agency is on the space map now. We have this nice exhibition there where you can leave your comments. So when we were thinking 500 years ago, Philippines was on the ship. Philippines is in the space now. Yes, we do not have a Philippine astronaut yet, but this is nothing we are supporting. You don't need us for that. So having this data hub now here in the Philippines allows the Philippine public service to provide services for the Philippine people. But we are not done yet. I think it's important to also look into how this data environment is being developed in Europe, because there is a big private sector around the use of Copernicus that is creating employment, services for the public sector, Last year, we have started in the margins of our launch of Copernicus, how did we call it? The Private Sector Day, where we brought in already a European private sector in order to get to know the Philippine private sector, for both sides to continue this partnership, for the private sector to provide the services for the public sector. Because not everything can be done by the public sector. There is a lot of knowledge in the private sector. There is a lot of funding available in the private sector, investment that can be done in the private sector. So that means you can't hear me. So that's the audio. So we need the private sector to bring this partnership forward, to make use of the Copernicus Earth observation data, to bring forward the investments that the European Union and the European Union member states have already made in Copernicus. But for this, we need young, brilliant brains, many of which are here already. But looking into the program of this afternoon, there is one challenge I would like to highlight, and it's the challenge of gender and STEM. So this is something where in Europe we still haven't found the right recipe, and we are not fully at the 50-50 gender and STEM engagement. Some 20, 30 years ago, and when I think back, the math teachers were men, the math professors were men. This is where Europe started to support STEM education and STEM careers for women. And it took 10 years to increase the number of women-led research clusters from 39 to 41%. So 10 years for 2%. That means we need to start. In Europe, we started. In the Philippines, we are supporting also the STEM education for women and girls. But also this education, especially on the digital economy, has to be inclusive. So we have to look at the intersectionality to also make sure that what we see here for the Philippines as a future, let's call Copernicus a digital environment. We will continue with our digital economy package to support our partnership in the Philippines. So we also have to look at the communities that were traditionally excluded for various reasons, be it a geographical exclusion, be it also other reasons. So we call on the gender approach in STEM education, and this is why in Europe, if you're a European university or research institution, and you do not have a gender plan in your institution, you are not allowed to access the Horizon Europe funding. So I'm looking at my friend Ase Grot, because I think where we have to get better is to bring in the private sector in this engagement, and to bring in the science and innovation funding in this. We don't have the answers yet, but I think when we are sitting together, we need to make sure that our universities between the European Union and the Philippines are better connected, that they have joint research projects on the use of Earth observation, that there is more innovation actions where, based on the Philippine needs, we together can find the solutions that work for the Philippines and that are owned by the Philippines. Same as the Space Week is owned by the Philippines. This is why I will not take more of your time, but my colleagues asked me to say one special sentence that I will say here. So I am not representing youth anymore, so this must be a sentence that is attracting youth, obviously. Let's reach for the stars. Thank you.
That's all right. Thank you, Dr. Gemmer, for underlining the strong partnership of the Philippines and the European Union, spanning many years through the public sector, the private sector, and now into space, but with ways to go for gender in STEM. We now move to the ceremonial handover. We invite back on stage PhilSA Deputy Director General Villorente, and DOST Assistant Secretary Calzado for the ceremonial turnover of the Copville Mirror site. Thank you. As we witness the ceremonial handover, we witness the fruits of the collaboration between the European Union and the Philippines in the field of space-based development. The Copernicus Mirror Site, now hosted locally by the Philippine Space Agency in collaboration with the Advanced Science and Technology Institute of DOST, enhances national capacity to access and use Copernicus satellite data efficiently. It supports key priorities in environmental management, disaster risk reduction, agricultural planning, and climate resilience. DDG? Your turn. Yes, sir. This moment reflects the strength of our international partnerships and the shared commitment to ensuring that cutting-edge Earth observation tools are accessible and impactful at the local level. Thank you. Right. May I invite all please to the front? Yeah, to the front, please, a little bit. DDG Dennis, Dr. Marco Gemmer, and Asa Calzado, please take the other side of Dr. Gemmer. Okay. We will now have a short photo opportunity. Sirs, please remain on stage. May we now invite on stage PhilSA Deputy Director General Perez, Director Blanco, Director Martinez, and DOST ASTI Director De Leon to join the photo opportunity. Sir, move po ng konti doon siguro. Next, may we invite on stage EU Copville Program Manager, Ms. Maria Theron Puig, and ESA Program Manager, Dr. Casper Febeck. Pardon, also please come on stage, Ms. Ada, Copville Program Officer. Maybe on the other side, just so it's balanced. Next, may we invite on stage members of the European Union delegation to the Philippines and member states. Members of the EU delegation and member states. It's okay. Please proceed on stage. Get ready. The next group to come on stage are members of the Copville program team. Please, other side. Yeah, you can congregate. Stay here. Wait, one moment. Thank you. Members of the Copville program team. I'll just stay here. I'll just here. Go down, go down. Yes.
I'll be in the back.
I'll just stand here. Finally, members of the First Contact organizing team, without whose effort this event would not be possible. Evident, evident, evident. Members of the First Contact organizing team. Thank you. You may now return to your seats. Let us give a warm round of applause for this enduring partnership and for all those advancing innovation, collaboration, and progress through the COPFIL program. Thank you. Stay. At this point, you may be asking what the mirror site means for the Philippines. How can satellite imagery from the Copernicus program improve the way we observe and respond to changes in our environment? From tracking landscapes, forests, and crops, to monitoring volcanoes, landslides, and coral reefs, Earth observation opens new possibilities for understanding both the beauty and the challenges of our country. This is the vision behind COPFIL. To tell us more, we invite back on stage Dr. Casper Vibek, Program Manager of COPFIL from the European Space Agency.
Okay. So hi everyone, my name is Casper. I come from the European Space Agency. Before I start telling you a little bit about what COPFIL is, much has been said already, so I'll be pretty quick in my presentation. I'd just like to acknowledge all of our welcome presentations we had here and our speakers from our Deputy Director Generals from the Philippine Space Agency, the EU delegations and the DOST as well. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for being great partners in the COPFIL program. We could not have wished for better partners and collaboration through the COPFIL program. It's really an honor to work together with all of you, and we very much look forward to the coming year where we'll be working even more on COPFIL. So thank you all very much. Okay, so I'll try and be a little bit quick on this. So, COPFIL started a while ago. Actually, the idea of COPFIL started around the inception of the Philippine Space Agency as well. But the actual implementation of COPFIL started in 2023. And the stated goal of COPFIL is to increase the uptake of Copernicus data, but to improve disaster risk management and climate resilience through the construction of the Cupville mirror site, as well as various pilot services to go along with this mirror site. So the mirror site has already been presented before, and my colleague from Cloudfaro will tell us more about this in a moment. We will also have our distinguished graduates from the training services here that have gone through the training on these various Cupville services that we have developed as part of Cupville in a moment. So I'll tell you a little bit more about these services, what they can do, and what the benefit is for the Philippine public. Very quickly on the mirror site first. So the mirror site is physical infrastructure that looks like this, that is now installed in the data center here in Manila next to the hardware infrastructure of DOST-ST. This enables the Philippine government to process and access Copernicus data fast and efficiently and locate it in a local network with their compute resources. This provides data sovereignty and allows us to build efficient applications on top of the satellite data. Besides the application itself, there's also the fact that the data itself is then hosted here in the Philippines. Every day, every time new data comes down from the satellite, it gets copied here to the Philippines, so there is a physical copy of all of the Copernicus data here in the Philippines. This data, we'll go into this in a moment. The Copernicus program has many different satellites and sensors. So we're talking both optical sensors, which are fancy cameras that capture more of the micromagnetic spectrum. So that means you can see infrared and microwave as well. We also have radar satellites that allow us to feel the texture of the surface. And then we have weather satellites, and we have spectrometers that can tell us about air quality as well. So first off, we have the ground motion monitoring service. So the ground motion monitoring service uses radar satellites, data from the radar satellites from the Copernicus mission to monitor minute changes in the structure of the surface of the ground. So we can measure if the ground is moving, basically. So this will tell us if a landslide might happen. It will tell us about, or has happened. It will tell us about the stability of volcanoes. It will tell us about land subsidence. So as mentioned earlier in the welcome speeches, there is an issue of land subsidence here you can just see it in the top left corner here of land subsidence in northern Manila Bay. And this we are co-developing here together with the authorities in the Philippines. Then we have the land cover monitoring service. This is developed together with NAMRIA here in the Philippines, where we are providing land cover maps at 10-meter resolutions for areas of interest around the Philippines. That will allow us to have a frequent update of the terrain and land cover in the Philippines for better planning, for agriculture and forest purposes. We have specific tailored services that improves upon this as the forest cover and change service, where we are continuously monitoring forest disturbance in the Philippines. So here we are using both the optical and the radar satellites to tell us when a change has happened in forests in the Philippines. We also have crop type monitoring developed together with the Department of Agriculture. This will tell us, well, you can see some of the specific crops that we are monitoring here. This will allow us to do better agricultural statistics. It will help feed into the yield estimation system and do more efficient and sustainable agriculture in the future. We also have bathymetry mapping. Bathymetry and benthic habitat mapping. So using optical satellites, it's actually possible to measure the depth of the water down to around 25 meters or so. Here we have some examples of the services already active. It's not quite at the accuracy where you can use it for navigational maps, but it allows you to track changes over time and tell you about the benthic habitats and how they're doing, and monitor the environment. This is the benthic habitat I mentioned just before. It also allows us to do an assessment of blue carbon. And that is more or less like a very quick introduction to the services of CupFill. So there will be much more about CupFill here today. Coming up is a presentation on the mirror site, a much more detailed one. And we have the services being presented one by the actual trainers and the graduates that have gone through them in a moment. We also have the CupFill stand in the beginning of the exposition area here. Please come by if you want to know more, ask us questions. We will be here today. During the whole exposition, we will be here. There will also be a possibility to have live demonstration of the mirror site if you want to know how to access and use the data down there. We will tell you much more about it there. So, thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Fibek. CupFill truly has much to offer and much more to explore in its applications with and for the benefit of the Filipino people. So, are you ready to make first contact with the CupFill mirror site? To guide us through this live demonstration, we welcome Mr. Martin Mayer.
Hello. Good afternoon, everybody. I think this works better. It's otherwise a bit difficult to hear. So I will give you a brief overview of what this new mirror site does that was mentioned already several times. Ah yeah, that's me. Oi. Okay, so just about a few technical details. So the reason why this was established here has already been mentioned several times. So it's a program of the European Union to share its satellite data with the Philippines to improve the cooperation about climate change and about disaster recovery, disaster prevention. So this is the reason, and this was why they built a mirror site of the data servers that they have in the European Union currently, so that these data are easier accessible from the Philippines. So as you can see, it has 720 terabytes of data, and if you need to bring this data around the planet for you to access it, that will be a very slow undertaking. So the European Union decided to have a mirror site that's always updated with the current data from the satellites, so that you always have the current data available here in the Philippines and don't need to download them all the time, all the way around the planet. So it was installed as a cloud server here in Manila, and it has a landing page. I will try to get there. It has a landing page here for you to use. So the advantages are it's completely free for you, no need to pay for anything, and it's really valuable data. They are immediately available because of the closeness. You have everything, so you have the full archive, no limitations, no nothing, also not temporary. They're also not temporary, you just have this data available now, everything that the European Union collected from its Sentinel satellites. Okay, so here you see a picture of the landing page already. So up here. No, doesn't work. So on the landing page you find links to the Data Explorer, you find links to the Jupyter Lab, to a knowledge base, and if you get stuck somewhere you can also ask for support. So the Data Explorer is something I will show you soon. The Jupyter Lab is software that is available freely for you, where you can process the data that you find at the data lab. So a lot of the software is specialized software. So most people will not have it installed on their own computers. And that's why you have these tools available there. If you just want to read into it, go to the knowledge base. You find a lot of details and information. And as I said, if you get stuck, you can ask for support, which is the last menu point here. So just to give you a brief overview again of what's available, there are data of 5 Sentinel satellites, and each satellite is specialized on to collect different type of data. So this is what Casper mentioned before already. So Sentinel-1, for example, is a radar satellite, so it can take the pictures, it can take up the information it wants to collect, no matter if it's day or night, no matter if there is a big cloud cover or not. So it can always collect its data. Sentinel-2 is more for optical data. So if there's a cloud cover, its data are less reliable, but it's specialized on high resolution pictures. So you get a lot of data in a higher resolution than from, let's say, most other providers, and so on. So other satellites are specialized on monitoring water movement, so that you can see if the sea level is rising. That's also good to observe the effects of climate change, and so on. So this is the landing page. I will just walk you quickly through how you can use it. So as I mentioned already, there is this data explorer, and in the upper right corner you just can sign in if you do not have an account already, or you log in, and then you can use the data explorer. So this is what you see on the data explorer. So now will I kill something? No. Here you see that icon. You can use that, just click on it, and it allows you to draw your own area of interest. This area of interest, I mean the data of the area on the planet you want to see. It does not only have to be the Philippines. Just move somewhere else in the card if you want to know about a different area, and draw your own area of interest for which you want to obtain the data. So once you have chosen your area of interest, you can define more fine-grained what you really want to have. So you can also give a time range what you want to see. You can, if you are going for optical data, you can define if you want low cloud coverage, or if it's acceptable for you to have a higher cloud coverage and the data are still sufficiently good, even if some part of it is covered by clouds. And once you have defined this, just click on search. It will give you the results, what data are available for, and it will show you for which areas exactly this data you searched for are available. So then comes the easy part. If you have done this, just decide which one exactly you want, download them to your computer. And this is what you get. You get an archive. If you unpack this archive, you get this folder structure, and in these folders you find the data you are looking for, and the picture there on the right, you see from which area this data were taken. So in this case, you see it's some area between Negros and Cebu Island. Yeah, that's it from me. Unfortunately, I could not show you the URL where you can find this, but you can come to our COPFIL stand back there, and there you can get the URL. It was simply forgotten to include it in the pictures, but come to our place and you will get the URL, and all of you are invited to use this data. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Martin Mayer. We hope this glimpse has sparked your curiosity and excitement. As Mr. Mayer mentioned, if you'd like to explore the data yourself, we invite you to visit the COPFIL booth here at Philippine Space Week exhibit. Our team will be happy to walk you through how the mirror site works and even help you download satellite images relevant to your area of interest. You will also have the opportunity to meet our COPFIL experts who have flown in from across Europe to be part of this momentous event. And now, we turn our attention to the Filipino professionals who have joined us on this journey. These individuals took part in COPFIL's training program and represent a growing community of Earth observation practitioners in the Philippines. We begin the recognition of our COPFIL training participants. To kick us off, I invite on stage Marion as Technical Liaison Officer for COPFIL to give an overview of the COPFIL's capacity building program.
Hello, good afternoon. Magandang hapon. So thank you for this opportunity this afternoon to give some awards to our graduates of the COPFIL program. We are very proud of seeing all of you. Actually, there was quite a few people that came, so we are very happy. And we would like to recognize today all the effort and all the work that has been done by all of you and all the teams. I will first start to introduce the European team that Monica mentioned. So you have the pictures of foreigners here, just here for a few days. They actually flew to Manila this week to provide the last round of training of the COPFIL program. So you will see them around, so you have their name, and now you see the faces, so you can recognize them in the assembly. So these are the experts from Europe that have been not only developing the service, the COPFIL service of ground motion, land cover, forest and crop, benthic habitat mapping, but also co-developing these services with the different agencies involved here in the Philippines, and also providing the training to all the participants, all the people from the government agencies, institutions, sometimes private sector coming to the training and interested on how to know how to use the satellite Sentinel data in their application. So before going to each of the service and asking all our graduates to come on stage for a nice photo, the last opportunity for the photo on this training, I will just provide an overview on what we've been doing this past year on the training program of COPFIL. So we started, the program was done in 4 parts. The first part was a general introduction of the COPFIL Copernicus program. And then we went to some theoretical courses. So we've been guiding the students to the theory of the satellite data, of the satellite imagery, on how to process the data, but you will learn a bit more later. Then followed by that, we had some EO services practical sessions. And finally, that's what we've been doing this week. We had some applications on, training on applications on how to use these products on the different the dedicated application. So we've been doing this for all of the services. So as you can see, we may have mentioned 3 services, but in matter of fact, there's more like 5 services, even 6 if we also divide the benthic. But we have ground motion, land cover, forest mapping, crop mapping, benthic habitat mapping, and bathymetry. And we are now in the final event of this COPFIELD program training course. And here to, again, award and give the recognition to our students. So how it worked, we really started by analyzing and doing some surveys towards you, all of the potential students and participants, to understand what were your needs and what you wanted to learn about. And from this, we had a co-creation workshop from which we decided on how to go forward and to produce the round of training courses. So now we have a few numbers. We had 21 training sessions, 12 were online, 9 on-site, and we had over 300 participants. So we are very happy about this enthusiasm and the interest that you've shown on the use of satellite data for the applications. As you can see, so this is actually to look on the other way around. So the most recent is on the left. So the interest was actually growing as we went along to the services. So starting from the theory, now to the applications, and we have more and more people interested in using this. And a few pictures just to show you. So we had some theoretical session, like courses hosted by the University of the Philippines. So we were hosted in the university. We also had some hands-on training with really the opportunity for the participant to discuss closely with the trainers. And then this is just a few pictures of this training. So I would like now to start the recognition for each service. I'll go.
All right.
So, yeah.
Thank you, Marion. We will now recognize the participants of the COPFIELD training program. Each group, representing one of the pilot services, will be preceded by remarks from its facilitator. Afterwards, the trainees will be invited on stage for formal acknowledgement and a photo opportunity. Let's begin with Mihaela Llorgue to share a brief introduction to the COPFIELD Ground Motion Monitoring Service and its training course.
Good afternoon, distinguished guests, partners from the project, and of course, the students from the COPFIELD training. So I'm today with my colleagues, Georgia Boldano and Bingquan Lee, and together we would like to say that it's a great honor to stand here to celebrate finishing our course on the ground motion monitoring service. Over the last months, we've worked closely with our partners from Philippines, building not only technical capacity, but more importantly, bridges between institutions, countries, and people. The benefits of using a ground motion monitoring service are clear. It provides reliable, near real-time information on ground instability patterns, supporting quick-acting, effective planning, and reducing risks. What's very encouraging is the strong interest shown by our stakeholders and the ownership that they are taking in implementing ground motion monitoring solutions in fields like mining, volcanology, landslide studies, subsidence studies. So you can see there is a real need for the solutions that COPFIELD is providing. So the platform and the training we built together are therefore not an outcome, but a foundation that gives the base to expand, integrate, and build sustainable solutions for the future, together, of course. To the stakeholders involved, we would like to thank you for your engagement, your openness to collaboration. And we are sure that the networks we built and the knowledge we share together will continue to grow, evolve, and serve. Congratulations to all of you. We are proud to be part of this journey, And thank you, and let's keep moving forward.
Thank you, Mihaela. We now invite the participants of the Ground Motion Monitoring Service Training onto the stage to be recognized. Represented here today are DOST FIVOX, DENR Mining and Geosciences Bureau, DENR WRMO, other units from DENR, the Center for AI Research, UP NIGS, UP DGE, UPLBICS. Let's give them all a round of applause. Yeah. If you have any questions about the map that it is being projected at the back, we invite you to go to the EU Copville booth. Our experts would be happy to answer your questions. All right. Thank you. You may now return to your seats. Next, our expert on the Copville Forest Mapping Service unfortunately could not join us in person today. But they have prepared a short video message about the service and its training component.
Perez. I work in the Remote Sensing and Geospatial Analytics department at GMB, which is a Spanish technology company located in several countries. But in this case, GMB Spain contributes to the COFIL project through the development of forest services. Especially, we provide 3 forest products: forest area and type, tree cover density, and forest cover chain. Forest area and type is an annual product that uses both optical data from Sentinel-2 and Sentinel-1 to provide 3 forest classes: open forest, closed forest, and mangrove forest. Then we have the tree cover density, which is also an annual product, which uses the forest area as a reference and provides a continuous percentage indicating the proportion of a given area that is covered by trees. Finally, the forest cover chain, which is a monthly product that detects changes in forest area using radar data, allowing for consistent monitoring despite the high cloud coverage of the Philippines. These 3 products are currently available in the COFIL system and will be transferred to Fields Assistant together with the rest of the product developed by the project. Beyond the more technical aspect of the products, I would like to highlight another element that, in my opinion, is one of the most valuable aspects of the COFIL project: the close collaboration with Filipino stakeholders, which has directly contributed to the development of the forest products. From my experience, I'm confident in saying that this is one of the projects I have participated in where the input from a stakeholder has most clearly translated into meaningful improvements and concrete results in the products developed. I think it's something that we should truly highlight, value, and be grateful for. Thanks to everyone involved in these activities who make this possible. To me, it is a clear indicator of the success of the project. Last but not least, I would like to sincerely thanks to the participants of the three training courses that we conducted for the forest services. We hope you found the courses engaging and valuable, and that they have contributed in some way to enriching your knowledge or supporting your work. We truly appreciate your time, interest, and collaboration throughout the sessions. It is a pity I could not join you in person this time. I had the opportunity to be in Manila a few months ago for one of the training courses, and I truly appreciated the experience, especially the warm hospitality of the people in the Philippines. I hope you are enjoying the event, and sincerely, I hope that the collaboration established through COPFIL project will continue to grow and bring lasting value in the future. Many thanks for your attention.
Thank you, Patricia. We now invite the participants of the Forest Mapping Service training onto the stage to be recognized. Represented here today are DOST FIVOX, DENR, the Center for AI Research, UPIESM, UPDGE, UPLB ICS, and of course, PhilSA. All participants of the forest training, please proceed to the stage. Once again, if you have any questions about the map being shown at the back, we invite you to visit the EU COPFIL booth. Our experts will be happy to answer your questions. Thank you. You may now return to your seats. Next, for an overview of the COPFIL Crop Mapping Service and its training course, we invite on stage Alex Kreisel.
Okay, good afternoon. Together with my colleague Dominic Hewitt, we are implementing the crop component within the COPFIL project. Crops are defining for healthy life. So monitoring crops, crop areas and crop types is essential to ensure food security, facilitate decision making and improve livelihoods. In the crop monitoring sessions and the co-development, we had the pleasure to collaborate with many different institutions in the Philippines who pursued different interests, but all had one common goal, which was a productive and resilient agricultural sector. The participants in our 3 training sessions were very eager to learn about the crop products which are provided through the COPFIL project. And so we had insightful discussions to learn more about the actual need on the ground, and together we are working on solutions how the crop maps can be best exploited to reach the full potential these information-rich data sets can offer. I want to congratulate and also thank all of you, all of the students to our courses, for your interest, sharing your views, and your contributions to fruitful discussions. All the best for the future.
Thank you, Alex. We now invite the participants of the crop mapping service training onto the stage to be recognized. Among those represented today are DOST FIVOX, the Department of Agriculture Bureau for Soil and Water Management, the Center for AI Research, the Philippine Crop Insurance Corporation, UPLB, and of course, PhilSA.
Questions about the map will be entertained at the EU Copfill booth. Please drop by.
Thank you. Next, we invite on stage Etienne Ducasse to provide some insights into the Copfill Land Cover Mapping Service and its training course.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Etienne Ducasse. I'm a PhD working on implementing the land cover service within the Copfill team, I work for Let's Go. So land cover, as Casper presented earlier, is a description of the physical material that covers the surface of the Earth, including vegetation, for example, or built-up areas. It provides useful services for policymakers such as disaster assessment or urban planning. So within the training, we presented all steps to create a land cover map using our land cover service within the Copfill platform. First, we went into the theoretical background, the physics that are underlying the image, the satellite images, and the algorithm necessary to make the land cover maps. The second step was to guide the students through the practical steps in order to create this land cover map. And in the end, the last part was based on the application of the data, or the students can use this data set in order to improve their current day job and daily lives. So I had the chance to see their great enthusiasm and their will on carrying remote sensing skills through their daily jobs. And so I'm really glad to have the opportunity to have the chance to meet them and to interact them, to discover each other. And that's why I would like to say to them and to congratulate them, Binabati Kita, and to thank them. So, Salamat po. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Etienne. We now invite the participants of the Land Cover Mapping Service training onto the stage to be recognized. Represented here today are Philsa, Namria, DA-BSWM, UP-DGE, UP-NIGS, UP-IESM, UP-LB-ICS, and once again, DOST-FIVOX. We invite all training participants of the Land Cover Mapping training to please proceed on stage. On screen, you see a sample of one of our outputs. For questions, please proceed to the EU Copfill booth. Thank you. You may now return to your seats. Lastly, unfortunately, our expert on the Copfill Benthic Habitat Monitoring Service also could not join us in person. Let us watch this short video message they prepared about the service and its training component.
To personally congratulate the participant of the Benthic trainings. My name is Anne-Laure and I'm working for Argent, a UK-based company specialized in coastal and marine application. I had the great pleasure to host the 3 training sessions for the Benthic service. Within the Benthic service, we had developed 2 processes aiming to provide a better understanding on the Philippine coastal resources. First, a bathymetry module allowing, after a calibration process, to produce a map everywhere in the Philippines at any time. Our second product is a benthic annual map, allowing to identify the different benthic ecosystem using several satellite imagery to maximize feature recognition. During the training session, all participants has been fully trained on the whole process, from satellite data acquisition to map production and interpretation. The first course was focusing on the presentation of the different satellite sensors and on the theory of data acquisition, how the information is acquired and stored. The second course was a more practical training. All participants were able to directly manipulate the data. After some basic manipulation, where we see how to open a satellite image, how to change the spectral bands, and how to manipulate spectral band on QGIS, we provided some training sets to learn how to calibrate and run the bathymetric module. At the end of the second session, all participants were autonomous in data selection, preparation, and mapping. For me, this course was really interesting and engaging. Rapidly, we saw some group forming to exchange and to help each other. There was a real interest and commitment in the different proposed exercise, but I think it's really the group dynamic that was created through the trainings that was really marking for me. The final training started with how to obtain a benthic map, and more importantly, how to interpret the classification results to improve the training phase and obtain a more accurate map. The training ended up on the presentation of the different potential use cases, from time series to impact analysis. We saw how to combine the different benthic service product, but also how to use all the data source to have a complete environmental analysis. Finishing the training with specific one-to-one session with all participants was really important for me to see how they appropriate the knowledge and how they integrate the tools in their own process and application. And I guess this is how we can really evaluate the success of the training sessions. I would like to thank again all participants for the time and for their efforts, but also for their work, question and active participation that really made the session successful. Also, a special thanks to Marion and Monica for all their efforts in the organization of the session. I wish you all a great day and please a round of applause for our graduates. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne-Laure. We now invite the participants of the Benthic Habitat Monitoring Service training to be recognized. Some of those represented here today are PhilSA, NAMRIA, DOST FIVOX, the Center for AI Research, UP, and DLSU. May we request all participants, called or otherwise, for the Benthic Habitat Monitoring Service training to please proceed on stage to be recognized. On screen, you will see a bathymetric map of Apple Reef. If you have any questions, we welcome you into the EU COPFIL booth. Our experts will be glad to answer. All right, please stay on stage Please remain on stage. May we call on all training participants and facilitators for a class photo. All training participants and facilitators for a class photo. Please proceed on stage. We also welcome Dr. Casper Fibeck and Ms. Marion Teron Puge. On behalf of the COPFIL program, we thank you for your dedication to nation building through capacity building in Earth observation applications. Ladies and gentlemen, I present the first cohort of EU COPFIL EO graduates. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we conclude the ceremonial turnover and recognition of our EU COPFIL EU graduates. We now have a 15-minute break as we transition the stage to the dialogue on gender in STEM. We welcome you to partake of the snacks that are on your chairs. Thank you once again. Once again, we invite you to visit the EO COPFIL booth. Our experts would be happy to answer your questions. Thank you.
COFIL is a unique flagship initiative of the European Union Global Gateway Strategy. COFIL promotes the use of free and open satellite data from Copernicus, the EU space program's Earth observation component, through activities including the establishment of an IT infrastructure and Copernicus mirror site for accessing and processing Copernicus satellite data on biodiversity, on forest management, on agriculture. This transfer of data is reinforced by the COFIL training program, through which we are very excited to cooperate with institutions across Philippines. Through COFIL, we are advancing a partnership which empowers the Philippines to become a central hub for Earth observation in Southeast Asia and supporting its path towards a more sustainable and resilient future.
Beyond the limits of our atmosphere, space gives us a view unlike any other. Observing the Earth from space reveals features, details, and changes that we might miss from the ground. As the ultimate observatory, space provides a different perspective on our world. Satellites, our eyes from space, reveal Earth's shifting landscapes and help us monitor agriculture, mitigate and respond to disasters, and protect the environment. In 2023, a groundbreaking partnership between the Philippines and the European Union was established. The National Copernicus Capacity Support Action Program, or COPFIL, was launched to strengthen and promote the operational uptake of free and open Copernicus data in the Philippines through establishing the COPFIL Center. COPFIL is managed by the EU delegation to the Philippines and implemented by the European Space Agency, ESA, PhilSA, and the Philippine Department of Science and Technology, DOST. Powered by Copernicus, the EU's Earth observation program, COPFIL taps into near real-time, high-resolution satellite data from the Sentinel constellation.
We're currently setting up a so-called Copernicus data mirror site within the Philippines Space Agency. And we have just signed an agreement to boost the flow on Earth observation data between us. This is very important for early warning, for example, for extreme weather phenomena, and to improve the climate resilience. This is a first in space cooperation in Asia.
Officially launched in October 2024, the data center with the Copernicus mirror site strengthens the Philippines' ability to mitigate hazards, protect biodiversity, and build climate resilience more effectively and efficiently than ever before. With local data access, Philippine authorities can respond to disasters faster and design smarter policies. Companies can also utilize data to develop innovative solutions such as climate-smart farming. This establishes the Philippines as a central hub for Earth observation in Southeast Asia, making it the first country in Asia to host a dedicated Copernicus data center managed locally by PhilSA. COPFIL also delivers 3 pioneering monitoring services: ground motion monitoring service to detect land shifts and mitigate risks, land cover, forest, and crop mapping service to enhance food security and sustainable land use, benthic habitat monitoring service to protect vital marine ecosystems. More than data, COPFIL is also about people. Through training, knowledge sharing, and locally tailored solutions, COPFIL equips Philippine institutions to tackle challenges head-on. And the mission doesn't stop here. COPFIL will soon integrate with the European Union-funded Digital Economy Package, linking the Philippines to a broader digital future across Southeast Asia. This will expand Copernicus' reach across Southeast Asia for disaster risk management and climate change mitigation. COPFIL harnesses the power of space to create real-world impacts in shaping a safer, greener, and more sustainable future for all.
COPFIL is a unique flagship initiative of the European Union Global Gateway Strategy. COPFIL promotes the use of free and open satellite data from Copernicus, the EU space program's Earth observation component, through activities including the establishment of an IT infrastructure and Copernicus mirror site for accessing and processing Copernicus satellite data on biodiversity, on forest management, on agriculture. This transfer of data is reinforced by the COPFIL training program, through which we are very excited to cooperate with institutions across the Philippines. Through COPFIL, we are advancing a partnership which empowers the Philippines to become a central hub for Earth observation in Southeast Asia and supporting its path towards a more sustainable and resilient future.
Beyond the limits of our atmosphere, space gives us a view unlike any other. Observing the Earth from space reveals features, details, and changes that we might miss from the ground. As the ultimate observatory, space provides a different perspective on our world. Satellites, our eyes from space, reveal Earth's shifting landscapes and help us monitor agriculture, mitigate and respond to disasters, and protect the environment. In 2023, a groundbreaking partnership between the Philippines and the European Union was established. The National Copernicus Capacity Support Action Program, or COPFIL, was launched to strengthen and promote the operational uptake of free and open Copernicus data in the Philippines through establishing the COPFIL Center. COPFIL is managed by the EU delegation to the Philippines and implemented by the European Space Agency, ESA, PhilSA, and the Philippine Department of Science and Technology, DOST. Powered by Copernicus, the EU's Earth observation program, COPFIL taps into near real-time, high-resolution satellite data from the Sentinel constellation.
We're currently setting up a so-called Copernicus data mirror site within the Philippines Space Agency. And we have just signed an agreement to boost the flow on Earth observation data between us. This is very important for early warning, for example, for extreme weather phenomena, and to improve the climate resilience. This is a first in space cooperation in Asia.
Officially launched in October 2024, the data center with the Copernicus mirror site strengthens the Philippines' ability to mitigate hazards, protect biodiversity, and build climate resilience more effectively and efficiently than ever before. With local data access, Philippine authorities can respond to disasters faster and design smarter policies. Companies can also utilize data to develop innovative solutions such as climate-smart farming. This establishes the Philippines as a central hub for Earth observation in Southeast Asia, making it the first country in Asia to host a dedicated Copernicus data center managed locally by PhilSA. COPPhil also delivers 3 pioneering monitoring services: ground motion monitoring service to detect land shifts and mitigate risks, land cover, forest, and crop mapping service to enhance food security and sustainable land use, benthic habitat monitoring service to protect vital marine ecosystems. More than data, COPPhil is also about people. Through training, knowledge sharing, and locally tailored solutions, COPPhil equips Philippine institutions to tackle challenges head-on. And the mission doesn't stop here. COPPhil will soon integrate with the European Union-funded Digital Economy Package, linking the Philippines to a broader digital future across Southeast Asia. This will expand Copernicus' reach across Southeast Asia for disaster risk management and climate change mitigation. COPPhil harnesses the power of space to create real-world impacts in shaping a safer, greener, and more sustainable future for all.
COPPhil is a unique flagship initiative of the European Union Global Gateway Strategy. COPPhil promotes the use of free and open satellite data from Copernicus, the EU space program's Earth observation component, through activities including the establishment of an IT infrastructure and Copernicus mirror site for accessing and processing Copernicus satellite data on biodiversity, on forest management, on agriculture. This transfer of data is reinforced by the COPPhil training program, through which we are very excited to cooperate with institutions across Philippines. Through COPPhil, we are advancing a partnership which empowers the Philippines to become a central hub for Earth observation in Southeast Asia and supporting its path towards a more sustainable and resilient future.
Beyond the limits of our atmosphere, space gives us a view unlike any other. Observing the Earth from space reveals features, details, and changes that we might miss from the ground. As the ultimate observatory, space provides a different perspective on our world. Satellites, our eyes from space, reveal Earth's shifting landscapes and help us monitor agriculture, mitigate and respond to disasters, and protect the environment. In 2023, a groundbreaking partnership between the Philippines and the European Union was established. The National Copernicus Capacity Support Action Program, or COPPhil, was launched to strengthen and promote the operational uptake of free and open Copernicus data in the Philippines through establishing the COPPhil Center. COPPhil is managed by the EU delegation to the Philippines and implemented by the European Space Agency, ESA, PhilSA, and the Philippine Department of Science and Technology, DOST. Powered by Copernicus, the EU's Earth observation program, COPPhil taps into near real-time, high-resolution satellite data from the Sentinel constellation.
We're currently setting up a so-called Copernicus data mirror site within the Philippines Space Agency. And we have just signed an agreement to boost the flow on Earth observation data between us. This is very important for early warning, for example, for extreme weather phenomena, and to improve the climate resilience. This is a first in space cooperation in Asia.
Officially launched in October 2024, the data center with the Copernicus mirror site strengthens the Philippines' ability to mitigate hazards, protect biodiversity, and build climate resilience more effectively and efficiently than ever before. With local data access, Philippine authorities can respond to disasters faster and design smarter policies. Companies can also utilize data to develop innovative solutions such as climate-smart farming. This establishes the Philippines as a central hub for Earth observation in Southeast Asia, making it the first country in Asia to host a dedicated Copernicus data center managed locally by PhilSA. COPPhil also delivers 3 pioneering monitoring services: ground motion monitoring service to detect land shifts and mitigate risks, land cover, forest, and crop mapping service to enhance food security and sustainable land use, benthic habitat monitoring service to protect vital marine ecosystems. More than data, COPPhil is also about people. Through training, knowledge sharing, and locally tailored solutions, COPPhil equips Philippine institutions to tackle challenges head-on. And the mission doesn't stop here. COPPhil will soon integrate with the European Union-funded Digital Economy Package, linking the Philippines to a broader digital future across Southeast Asia. This will expand Copernicus' reach across Southeast Asia for disaster risk management and climate change mitigation. COPPhil harnesses the power of space to create real-world impacts in shaping a safer, greener, and more sustainable future for all.
COPPhil is a unique flagship initiative of the European Union Global Gateway Strategy. COPPhil promotes the use of free and open satellite data from Copernicus, the EU space program's Earth observation component, through activities including the establishment of an IT infrastructure and Copernicus mirror site for accessing and processing Copernicus satellite data on biodiversity, on forest management, on agriculture. This transfer of data is reinforced by the COPPhil training program, through which we are very excited to cooperate with institutions across Philippines. Through COPPhil, we are advancing a partnership which empowers the Philippines to become a central hub for Earth observation in Southeast Asia and supporting its path towards a more sustainable and resilient future.
Beyond the limits of our atmosphere, space gives us a view unlike any other. Observing the Earth from space reveals features, details, and changes that we might miss from the ground. As the ultimate observatory, space provides a different perspective on our world. Satellites, our eyes from space, reveal Earth's shifting landscapes and help us monitor agriculture, mitigate and respond to disasters, and protect the environment. In 2023, a groundbreaking partnership between the Philippines and the European Union was established. The National Copernicus Capacity Support Action Program, or COPFIL, was launched to strengthen and promote the operational uptake of free and open Copernicus data in the Philippines through establishing the COPFIL Center. COPFIL is managed by the EU delegation to the Philippines and implemented by the European Space Agency, ESA, PhilSA, and the Philippine Department of Science and Technology, DOST. Powered by Copernicus, the EU's Earth observation program, COPFIL taps into near real-time, high-resolution satellite data from the Sentinel constellation.
We're currently setting up a so-called Copernicus data mirror site within the Philippines Space Agency. And we have just signed an agreement to boost the flow on Earth observation data between us. This is very important for early warning, for example, for extreme weather phenomena, and to improve the climate resilience. This is a first in space cooperation in Asia.
Officially launched in October 2024, the data center with the Copernicus Mirror site strengthens the Philippines' ability to mitigate hazards, protect biodiversity, and build climate resilience more effectively and efficiently than ever before. With local data access, Philippine authorities can respond to disasters faster and design smarter policies. Companies can also utilize data to develop innovative solutions such as climate-smart farming. This establishes the Philippines as a central hub for Earth observation in Southeast Asia, making it the first country in Asia to host a dedicated Copernicus data center managed locally by PhilSA. COPFIL also delivers 3 pioneering monitoring services: ground motion monitoring service to detect land shifts and mitigate risks, land cover, forest, and crop mapping service to enhance food security and sustainable land use, benthic habitat monitoring service to protect vital marine ecosystems. More than data, COPFIL is also about people. Through training, knowledge sharing, and locally tailored solutions, COPFIL equips Philippine institutions to tackle challenges head-on. And the mission doesn't stop here. COPFIL will soon integrate with the European Union-funded Digital Economy Package, linking the Philippines to a broader digital future across Southeast Asia. This will expand Copernicus' reach across Southeast Asia for disaster risk management and climate change mitigation. COPFIL harnesses the power of space to create real-world impacts in shaping a safer, greener, and more sustainable future for all.
COPFIL is a unique flagship initiative of the European Union Global Gateway Strategy. COPFIL promotes the use of free and open satellite data from Copernicus, the EU space program's Earth observation component, through activities including the establishment of an IT infrastructure and Copernicus mirror site for accessing and processing Copernicus satellite data on biodiversity, on forest management, on agriculture. This transfer of data is reinforced by the COPHIL training program, through which we are very excited to cooperate with institutions across the Philippines. Through COPHIL, we are advancing a partnership which empowers the Philippines to become a central hub for Earth observation in Southeast Asia and supporting its path towards a more sustainable and resilient future.
Beyond the limits of our atmosphere, space gives us a view unlike any other. Observing the Earth from space reveals features, details, and changes that we might miss from the ground. As the ultimate observatory, space provides a different perspective on our world. Satellites, our eyes from space, reveal Earth's shifting landscapes and help us monitor agriculture, mitigate and respond to disasters, and protect the environment. In 2023, a groundbreaking partnership between the Philippines and the European Union was established. The National Copernicus Capacity Support Action Program, or COPFIL, was launched to strengthen and promote the operational uptake of free and open Copernicus data in the Philippines through establishing the COPFIL Center. COPFIL is managed by the EU delegation to the Philippines and implemented by the European Space Agency, ESA, PhilSA, and the Philippine Department of Science and Technology, DOST. Powered by Copernicus, the EU's Earth observation program, COPFIL taps into near real-time, high-resolution satellite data from the Sentinel constellation.
We're currently setting up a so-called Copernicus data mirror site within the Philippines Space Agency. And we have just signed an agreement to boost the flow on Earth observation data between us. This is very important for early warning, for example, for extreme weather phenomena and to improve the climate resilience. This is a first in space cooperation in Asia.
Officially launched in October 2024, the data center with the Copernicus mirror site strengthens the Philippines' ability to mitigate hazards, protect biodiversity, and build climate resilience more effectively and efficiently than ever before. With local data access, Philippine authorities can respond to disasters faster and design smarter policies. Companies can also utilize data to develop innovative solutions such as climate-smart farming. This establishes the Philippines as a central hub for Earth observation in Southeast Asia, making it the first country in Asia to host a dedicated Copernicus data center managed locally by PhilSA. COPFIL also delivers 3 pioneering monitoring services: ground motion monitoring service to detect land shifts and mitigate risks, land cover, forest, and crop mapping service to enhance food security and sustainable land use, benthic habitat monitoring service to protect vital marine ecosystems. More than data, COPFIL is also about people. Through training, knowledge sharing, and locally tailored solutions, COPFIL equips Philippine institutions to tackle challenges head-on. And the mission doesn't stop here. COPFIL will soon integrate with the European Union-funded Digital Economy Package, linking the Philippines to a broader digital future across Southeast Asia. This will expand Copernicus' reach across Southeast Asia for disaster risk management and climate change mitigation. COPFIL harnesses the power of space to create real-world impacts in shaping a safer, greener, and more sustainable future for all.
Check. The EU dialogue on inclusivity in STEM will start at 4:30. The EU dialogue on gender in STEM will start at 4:30 p.m. This is a free event, so to all the mall goers who are interested in knowing about being inclusive by design, advancing digital skills and STEM careers for all, you may come here at Quantum Skyview Gateway Mall 2. There are seats here up front. You can also try to watch the program from up there. But it's more comfortable if you guys come down here at Quantum Skyview Gateway Mall 2. Again, the gender in STEM, the EU dialogue on inclusivity by design, advancing digital skills in STEM careers for all is happening at around 4:30 p.m. today. This is going to be streamed on the PhilSA Facebook page. We are at PhilSpace Agency on Facebook and all social media platforms. If you're going to post about this event, please tag us at PhilSpace Agency and use the hashtags #Philippine Space Week and #Yamang Kalawakan.
COFIL is a unique flagship initiative of the European Union Global Gateway Strategy. COFIL promotes the use of free and open satellite data from Copernicus, the EU space program's Earth observation component, through activities including the establishment of an IT.
Beyond the limit.
We are celebrating Philippine Space Week from August 8 to 14. And this marks the signing of the Philippine Space Act, Republic Act 11363, anniversary of the establishment of the Philippine Space Policy and the Philippine Space Agency.
Welcome to the Patalasan sa Yamang Kalawakan Ideation Contest, a celebration of the limitless potential of our youth and a testament to the growing interest in space science and technology applications.
Gusto niyo bang maglakbay? So ang kwento natin ngayon, ang pamagat ay si Tala at ang kanyang lakbay, Kalawakan.
Pinangunahan naman ni Pangulong Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. ang 8th Philippine Space Council meeting.
The Philippine Registry of Space Objects is now live. In line with the UN Convention on Registration of Space Objects launched into outer space, the Philippine Space Agency, or PhilSA, maintains a registry of all space objects launched and owned by the Philippines. For more information, visit spacereg.philsa.gov.ph.
COFIL is a unique flagship initiative of the European Union Global Gateway Strategy. COFIL promotes the use of free and open satellite data from Copernicus, the EU space program's Earth observation component, through activities including the establishment of an IT infrastructure and Copernicus mirror site for accessing and processing Copernicus satellite data on biodiversity, on forest management, on agriculture. This transfer of data is reinforced by the COFIL training program, through which we are very excited to cooperate with institutions across the Philippines. Through COFIL, we are advancing a partnership which empowers the Philippines to become a central hub for Earth observation in Southeast Asia and supporting its path towards a more sustainable and resilient future.
Beyond the limits of our atmosphere, space gives us a view unlike any other. Observing the Earth from space reveals features, details, and changes that we might miss from the ground. As the ultimate observatory, space provides a different perspective on our world. Satellites, our eyes from space, reveal Earth's shifting landscapes and help us monitor agriculture, mitigate and respond to disasters, and protect the environment. In 2023, a groundbreaking partnership between the Philippines and the European Union was established. The National Copernicus Capacity Support Action Program, or COPFIL, was launched to strengthen and promote the operational uptake of free and open Copernicus data in the Philippines through establishing the COPFIL Center. COPFIL is managed by the EU delegation to the Philippines and implemented by the European Space Agency, ESA, PhilSA, and the Philippine Department of Science and Technology, DOST. Powered by Copernicus, the EU's Earth observation program, COPFIL taps into near real-time, high-resolution satellite data from the Sentinel constellation.
We're currently setting up a so-called Copernicus data mirror site within the Philippines Space Agency. And we have just signed an agreement to boost the flow on Earth observation data between us. This is very important for early warning, for example, for extreme weather phenomena, and to improve the climate resilience.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to resume with the program. The EU Dialogue on Gender in STEM, Inclusive by Design, Advancing Digital Skills and STEM Careers for All, will begin momentarily. We invite our audience members to please proceed back to your seats. Thank you.
Good afternoon once again, ladies and gentlemen. We can now resume with our program for First Contact, Bridging Space, Sustainability, and Society. We enter the third and final segment of our afternoon, the dialogue on gender in STEM, titled Inclusive by Design, Advancing Digital Skills and STEM Careers for All. It was truly an honor to witness two momentous ceremonies this afternoon: the official turnover of the Copernicus Mirror site and the celebration of our newly graduated EU COPFIL EO professionals. These remind us that digital transformation is about building local capacity, shared responsibility, and inclusive progress. Once again, for this segment, we invite all our participants to the stage area to partake of this panel discussion. It's in this spirit that we now turn to the next part of our program to introduce our keynote speaker and later lead our multisectoral panel discussion. Allow me to present our moderator for today's panel. Mr. Ron Astillas brings over 2 decades of experience in international trade and public policy, having served as the Philippine lead negotiator for ASEAN Services and the country's inaugural negotiator for the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, which is one of the world's largest trade agreements, covering nearly 30% of global GDP and population. He has worked with organizations such as the Asian Development Bank, the Center for International Private Enterprise, and the Development Academy of the Philippines on public policy and stakeholder engagement. A British Chevening Scholar with a master's degree in international political economy from the University of Manchester, Ron also chairs the Philippine LGBT Chamber of Commerce, where he champions diversity, equity, and inclusion in business. He is also a strong supporter of sustainable farming and proudly promotes locally grown and made products. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Ron Astillas.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Very good. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat, to all our delegates, of course, the Diplomatic Corps. Thank you very much for having me. First of all, I'd like to thank you for giving me a very kind introduction. I think that's very wonderful. I'm tasked to do the introduction for the keynote speaker. But before we proceed to that part, I'd just like to provide a context as to what the conversation will happen or will be this afternoon. We will first learn more about the European Union's Global Gateway Strategy, which seeks to strengthen digital partnership around the world through a model that is sustainable, people-centered, and values-driven through what they call the EU Digital Economy Package and Copernicus. To help us frame the EU's Global Gateway Initiative and how it connects with intersectionality and inclusion in digital cooperation, I am pleased to introduce our keynote speaker. Maria Teron Puig is the Program Manager for Digital Cooperation and focal point on Global Gateway at the delegation of the European Union to the Philippines. She brings over a decade of experience in EU development cooperation, having served in various roles at the EU headquarters, including as Geo Coordinator for the Philippines, Thailand, Myanmar, and as an International Relations Officer for Connectivity and Transport with the Pacific, Latin America, and Africa. She began her EU career working on circular economy policies at the Directorate General for Environment. Prior to joining the EU, Maria worked in regional government and with NGOs on migrant entrepreneurship and environmental advocacy. She holds a law degree from Pompeu Fabra University in Spain and 2 master's degrees in European Studies and EU International Relations from universities in Germany and the College of Europe in Bruges. Please join me in welcoming Maria Teron Puig.
afternoon, everyone. I'm honored to be speaking with you today here at the Philippines Space Week. We are gathering here today to explore the wonders of space science and the vast opportunities it presents. And this afternoon, we're really acknowledging the importance of promoting equal opportunities more than just a privilege. It's the foundation for the inclusive growth, innovation, and opportunity. Despite the rapid pace of progress, we need to remain alert because many barriers still stand in the way, particularly for women, for LGBTQ plus individuals, persons with disabilities, and other marginalized communities, that we need to ensure there's an access to quality STEM education and digital careers. As the head of cooperation, Marco Gamar, said today, we need to really work on this. From the European Union side, we are really committing to creating a world where everyone has equal access to education, career opportunities, regardless of their gender, background, or socioeconomic status. That's why we are ensuring that 85% of all new external actions contribute to gender equality. And the starting point for delivering this is to base every action on a robust intersectionality analysis. We are working on this analysis for the current and the future European investments in digital economy, and we want to ensure that everyone benefits from them. I'm sure today you have heard extensively about Copernicus and that we have a booth there, so I still recommend you to go and to check it out. But through the Copernicus program, we are really delivering skills throughout the country, not just at national level, but at LGU level as well. And these trainings are key for the authorities in the local governments, but also for the academia and universities. And we really want to improve and make a continuation on that. We are creating a digital campus to make the Copernicus data accessible to everyone, no matter where they are located. We also implement these considerations as we are offering a one-year master's scholarship to be based in Europe. And this we are offering to young scientists and government staff in the Philippines who are interested in pursuing a career in Earth observation and in space technology. Here I also recommend you check with our COPFIELD team in the booth. They could provide more information. But by demonstrating the EU commitment to support the country's digital transformation and economic growth, we have a new initiative in the pipeline, the European Union Digital Economy Package. This is a program that will reinforce the digital connectivity in the Philippines with a focus on the mirror side, also increase the cybersecurity capabilities, promote the private sector use of Copernicus and innovation, and all of this will be done in synergies with the programs of DOST, PhilSA, and the ICT. But the EU is delivering this package together, not alone, but together with Finland and France, and we are really excited for what is to come. Another key initiative that is coming along is the expansion of Copernicus to ASEAN countries that will be implemented by the European Space Agency, CASPER, as you all know. And there will be the launch quite soon in the Asia-Pacific Regional Space Agency Forums in Cebu. So we expect you all to see you there. And we would also have a Copernicus hackathon for young people. Scientists, communities, and young people have a critical role to play in shaping the future of our planet and our societies. You have the power to choose career in STEM fields, to pursue innovative ideas and solutions, and to really make a positive impact in the world. Advocates from government, acts of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Now, I would like to thank the moderator, Ron, and all the panelists who are joining here today to discuss these opportunities and challenging and promoting gender equality and intersectionality in STEM fields. Thank you very much. Salamat po.
Thank you very much, Maria, for illuminating us on how the EU's approach ensures that digital transformation is fair, inclusive, and deeply rooted in global cooperation. Now we go to the exciting part of the conversation as we shift into the panel discussion, where we'll explore digital development, how digital development intersects with GEDC, gender equality, disability, social inclusion, particularly in the context of STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, education, and careers. So, dear partners, as your panel moderator, I'm honored to facilitate a discussion for today as we frame JEDC lens in digital transformation. Today, we'll explore that transformation in the Philippines and beyond, and how it can become more inclusive, equitable, empowering when we see through the lens of JEDC. So let me now take you to our conversation on the education and careers aspect, specifically on the areas where we have both the opportunities and the responsibilities to shape a future that leaves no one behind. As we navigate our discussion today, I invite all of us to reflect on the question: how can digital innovation serve as a tool for human development, especially for historically excluded communities? To help us unpack these complex and urgent themes, as a diverse and esteemed panel of leaders from government, civil society, private sector, and the academe joins us. So I'll be introducing them one by one. And again, we're very honored to have a very good mix of sectoral representatives from the civil society, private sector, all the way to public policy makers. So let me now call on first our panel from the government side. We begin with the Department of Science and Technology. A good friend of mine. We've known each other way back when we were still young and, a few pounds lighter, I guess. So let me introduce to you the director of the Science Education Institute of the Department of Science and Technology, or DOST, where he oversees programs that promote science education and outreach, specifically with marginalized communities through scholarship, teacher training, and youth engagement. Previously, he was a professor and chair of the development studies of the Ateneo de Manila University, serving as head of its research and creative work office succeedingly. As a sociologist, he has published widely on generational change, religion, and gender. He was named one of the outstanding young men, people, or TOIM in 2021, an outstanding young scientist by the National Academy of Science and Technology in 2017. In 2024, he was included in the Stanford list of the world's top 2% scientists. Ikaw na. He holds a PhD degree in sociology from NUS, National University of Singapore, and has held academic posts at institutions across Asia, Europe, US, etc. His research has been supported by the British Academy, UK AHRC, and the EU's Horizon 2020 program. Dear audience, let's now call on Dr. Jail Cornelio. Yes, take your seat here. Thank you. For our next panelist, also from government, from the science education, now we're moving to space, science, and technology. A panelist is a leading figure in Philippine space science community. He is the Deputy Director General for Space Science and at the Philippine Space Agency, where she oversees national programs on space technology development, Earth observation, interdisciplinary research, and international cooperation. She is also a professor at the University of the Philippines, Diliman, and currently serves as the president of the Technical Commission 5 of the International Society for Photogrammetry and Remote Sensing. She has received numerous distinctions, including the NAST Outstanding Young Scientist Award, the Outstanding Women in the Nation Service, or TOWNS, and she was the first Filipina recipient of the ASEAN-US Science Prize for Women. Let's give a warm round of applause to Dr. Gay Jane Perez. Take your seat, ma'am. Let me now call on from the social enterprise and innovation sector, from public service. Now it's the world of entrepreneurship and innovation, which I really like. The co-founder and CEO of She Loves Tech, the world's largest startup platform and accelerator for women in technology. What began as a single country initiative under her leadership has grown to a global network spanning over 80 countries, supporting more than 15,000 women-led startups, and unlocking over 600 million in funding to date. Beyond She Loves Tech, our panelist is also a venture partner at Kaya Founders and an advisor to venture funds, the UN, and Fortune 500 companies, advocating for gender-lens investing and inclusive innovation across borders. A Yale World Fellow, a UN Women 30 for 2030 honoree, and a champion for building startup ecosystems where women and marginalized innovators can thrive. A warm welcome to Ms. Rhea C. Next is our development partner, the Deputy Project Leader and Technical Lead for Innovation at Expertise France, and implementing partner of the EU's Global Gateway Initiative. Her work bridges international cooperation and private sector innovation, advancing inclusive, sustainable entrepreneurship and local capacity building in the green and digital economy. She has 10 years of experience in the development sector. She has been involved in the areas of children's rights, water sanitation, hygiene, and circular economy, where she has worn several hats. From resource development to championing children's rights legislation in the Senate and House of Representatives, and to establishing an eco-enterprise called Likhaya, which bridges women empowerment and circular economy. Deeply committed to promoting inclusivity and sustainability to entrepreneurship and innovation, a passion she brings to her work as both an angel investor in green businesses and an entrepreneur. Ladies and gentlemen, let's call on Ms. Tony Flores. Tony. And of course, from the academia, last but not the least, a key pillar in advancing inclusive STEM from the ground up. Our next panelist is a university professor at the Philippine Normal University, where she also serves as director of the publication office. She is currently a member of the CHED Technical Panel for Physics and co-lead of the pre-service teacher education curriculum, Reform for Science Education. She has served as a consultant for DOST and National Research Council of the Philippines, where she also chaired key committees on education and policy. A multi-awarded scholar, she received the 2024 Service Award as Managing Editor of the ASTEN, Journal of Teacher Education, and is a regular member of the Philippine American Academy of Science and Engineering. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Marie Paz Morales. Do you have your mic with you? Do you have the mic for the panelists? Okay. I'm a bit too far from all of you, but let me move closer, okay? I mean, this is not a job interview. Neither will this be an assessment. There is a, okay. For them na lang siguro. So we have two mics for the panelists. Then I'll be using this na lang. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Now we can sit down and relax, I guess. Anyway, again, a pleasant afternoon to all of you. So, the first time I was asked to moderate this panel, I'm actually quite curious because, you know, the intersectionality of gender, which I do on the LGBT business inclusion, and then STEM. You know, it's usually not discussed. I mean, we focus on a lot of things in the business sector, but now that we have STEM, and then we have all these panelists talking about later about their expertise and the work they do, I think it's high time that we look into this aspect of real social inclusion, not just for a limited few, but for everybody else out there. So let me begin by requesting our panelists to give us a brief introduction about what you do, about yourself, and some interesting facts on the work that your putting your heart to at the moment. So let's start with my good friend, Dr. Jail or Liaj Cornelio.
Nako, Ron and I go a long way back. Maraming salamat po. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jail, Dr. Cornelio. I'm a sociologist. In a way, I'm really an odd one out sa DOST, which is composed really of so many hardcore natural scientists. And there is a social scientist taking over the Science Education Institute. It's a very useful perspective to bring into DOST kasi from the perspective of sociology, we are very much interested in how the work of SEI as a scholarship granting agency, apart from many other things that we do, we want to make sure that whatever we do has an impact on the least served, the underserved in our communities. And this is more true now under our new leadership. And hopefully, we get to attract more scholars, more scientists, undergraduate scholars, from especially the island provinces. From my point of view, geographic exclusion is a reality in our country where scholars are predominantly coming from NCR, Region 4A, Cebu, Iloilo. But when you look at the rest of the country, these are the areas that are truly underserved. And SEI will go in that direction.
Thank you. Ma'am?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So I'll say something that's not written.
Yes, go ahead.
In the introduction earlier. Well, I went to an all-girls school. So for the first 12 years of my education, I have no classmates other than women. Then in college, I joined a laboratory. It's called Instrumentation Physics Lab. And our batch is also composed of all women. So back then, I didn't realize that there is some underrepresentation of women, at least with the people I am with closely. But before joining PhilSAP, I had the opportunity to be part of a program, the Field Microsatellite Program, which actually led to the development of the first Earth observation satellites, Diwata 1 and Diwata 2. And here, I am the only woman out of 5 project leaders. Wow. And I supervised a team of engineers. I took care of the science mission part of the program, where we had 9 engineers who built the satellite, and only 2 of them are women. So slowly, I'm becoming aware of how much gap there is, especially in our field, and that's what I'm trying to fill in right now, especially with my role also at the Philippine Space Agency, so we are consciously encouraging and promoting the participation of women in space science and technology.
Thank you, Dr. Ugay. We move to Rhea, but that's really amazing. Like, women leading all the time will definitely be a landmark, initiative for wherever. Rhea?
I also wanted to comment on that. Actually, I was born and raised in the Philippines, and I had a very similar experience going into all-girls school, having a lot of family members that were women who were leading a lot of the business efforts in our families. So for the longest time, I also didn't know or didn't realize that there was a gap or that gender inequality even existed, or at least that wasn't my focus until I co-founded my organization, which is called She Loves Tech. So She Loves Tech is headquartered in Singapore. It's a global organization, and we're committed to closing the funding gap for women tech entrepreneurs. So basically, we're working with women-led technology startups, early stage, from over 100 countries. Currently, we are the largest accelerator, or you could say an organization that helps support and scale technology businesses, eventually to get them funded, right? So for some of you who are in the space and aware of the gap, currently only 2% of venture capital funding goes to women, right? So 2% out of 100%. That's a huge gap. And so that's what we're trying to change at She Loves Tech. And we do this via a variety of programs. Our flagship program, which is the most well-known, is the global startup competition for technology. It's currently the world's largest of its kind. Through this, we've also managed to build the largest database of women-led startups. a lot of times when we talk about the gap of women in STEM, what we don't realize is that the gap is actually much smaller than what we think. It's simply that women are not provided the opportunity to become visible. They're not provided the stage or the spotlight. And a lot of them also don't have access to resources, which makes it more difficult to kind of meet, right? Whether it's the service provider, the supplier, or the startups themselves. And so She Loves Tech has become that platform which bridges that gap between investors, different stakeholders who are interested in either investing in women or helping to accelerate women founders. On top of that, we also run other accelerator programs. Most recently, we work with UN Women to create a climate tech focused startup accelerator for women-led startups in Southeast Asia. We also have different other accelerators that are more neutral, meaning sector agnostic. I was sharing with some of the team earlier that I didn't know that the Philippines had a space week. And for a lot of us, perhaps we're also not, let's say, aware of technology startups that are building space. But you would be very surprised to know that we've had several startups in the space tech industry that are actually women founders, right? And these are coming from a variety of regions, Southeast Asia, East Asia, Europe, and so they do exist. Again, it's a matter of spotlighting and making the effort to actually look for them and support them. Last but not least, we also have the pillar of Girls Love Tech. So it's our most, you could say, recent and newest initiative that we launched with the Singapore government 3 years ago. It's an initiative to nurture the future entrepreneurs in tech, right? To nurture the potential of girls as young as 10 all the way to university level, to get them to start thinking about technology, right? We always want to bring more women, more diverse people into tech, but what we fail to realize is that if they are not exposed to technology, how can they start thinking about it, much less go into that field? And so our curriculum is designed to let them understand, be aware, have the look and feel, right? So we're teaching them about robotics. We're teaching them about robotics through chopsticks. When we're teaching them about AI, we're getting them to debate about the ethics of AI. So it's not just about theoretical and technical content. We're getting them to really, again, touch and feel, technology, and let them realize that technology is not a faraway subject, and it's something that they can discover from everyday things and eventually discover which path they want to take in the field of technology. So I'm going to pause there, and very, very excited to be here, and yeah, passing it on to my next
very
panelist.
interesting information shared by Rhea here. So we'll dig deeper into that. Now I call on Tony.
Thank you so much. It's my first time knowing that there's a Space Week as well. But I was so impressed when I came in through the entrance. So I'm Tony, the Deputy Project Leader and Technical Lead for Innovation of Expertise France, which is a French public agency under the group of Agence Française de Développement, or the French Development Bank. And we are working with the European Union on the Green Economy Partnership. It's a 60 million euro funded program by the European Union for the Philippines. It's led by DENR, and it has several pillars, in fact, and one is GIZ. Together with DENR, they're working on green policies and alliances. You have UNDP and DILG working on greening LGUs. And for us in Expertise France, together with GGGI and IFC, we are working on green businesses, infrastructure, and finance. And then the last pillar is green energy, which is led by IFC together with the Department of Energy. And for us, because it's green business, infrastructure, and finance, we're working with our co-lead, the Department of Trade and Industry. So in this big program in the Philippines funded by EU, we want to transition the Philippines to green and circular economy, which is a very big goal. And that's why it consists of several strategic objectives that aims to target a whole of society and whole of government approach, because there's a lot to be done to be able to transition, but that entails providing technical expertise, funding, of course, mobilizing investment, mobilizing public-private partnership as well, and a whole lot more. And also, Expertise France has another project in the Philippines called DRILL, focused on disaster risk. And we're also currently working with EU on the digital economy package that is set to be launched by next year, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm going to talk more about that later on, but basically that's what we do. I'm specifically in charge of supporting the emergence and growth of eco-enterprises in the Philippines, either by supporting those that are already green or transforming traditional MSMEs to become circular and green, and creating avenues so that both innovation and transformation could happen.
Thank you, Tony. I now move to Dr. Marie.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Maripaz Morales. I'm from the Philippine Normal University. It's a normal university, so we produce teachers. We teach future STEM teachers. So we have two jobs. One is to invite a lot of men science teachers. Marami po kasi sa amin babae. Okay? And the second one is to invite a lot of male scientists. So that's what we want to do as a normal school. And of course, we are promoting gender sensitivity, diversity, and inclusion. Right now, we're currently revising the teacher education curriculum, and I co-lead the science group or the science major. And we wanted to get as much information from all of them so that we could include those in our new curriculum. Thank you.
Well, that's really true. That's the reason why we're having this conversation. Same with most of them. I'm quite surprised that there's a space week. In fact, the only thing I remember when I used to be in government, when I was doing trade negotiations, was that I was told that there's a space project somewhere in Davao, or back then. Then I realized now there's a space authority, PhilSA. So, oh my goodness, we never talk about space back then, right? I mean, like even us in the economic community, the free trade area, for example, that we negotiated on, we never discussed space services. That was never regulated. But now we have PhilSA. So let me give individual questions to our panelists here, like to Dr. Igay. Like for PhilSA, you've been working with LGUs, expanding partnership, working with other agencies as well, civil society, etc. What are your strategies to make sure that inclusivity happens as we develop careers, more careers in the space sector?
Thank you, Ron, for the question. But before I answer that, let me first thank and congratulate our colleagues, our partners from the EUDEL. Thank you so much for increasing the number of people who knows that there is a Philippine Space Week and there's a Philippine Space Agency who is now celebrating its 6 years of establishment. So thank you, and I hope you help us spread the word. Okay, now going back to your question. Yes, we have several programs here in PhilSA, and it caters to various sectors, from academe, government agencies, local government units, civil society, the private sector. To name a few, we have PINAS. I think you mentioned about catering to LGUs. So with this program, we increase the awareness on using satellite data to derive localized solutions that addresses the needs of our LGU sector, the different municipalities, cities. And in addition to that, we have a program also called Incentivize. Now that one, we try to provide, establish internet access to GIDAs, geographically isolated, disadvantaged areas. And this is, we had very interesting stories, success stories from this, because through this connectivity, some of the schools have actually had access to resources for the first time, something that they weren't able to do, or it's hard to do before getting connected to the internet. We also have scholarship programs specifically catering to space science and technology applications. So this is for students who want to pursue master's or graduate degree. So in all of these programs, at the core of it is really encouraging and promoting the participation of all genders. I would like also to add that we cater to kids as well. In this exhibit, you will see some of them, like the children's book that we developed and published recently. Then we have school programs. We have technology exhibits, and train the teachers programs. So because what we do in PhilSA is not really just looking at the growth of the space agency, but more importantly, the growth of the domestic space ecosystem, which extends beyond PhilSA and involves all the sectors.
I mean, I'd like to add to that. Like, how do you make space cool for kids these days, right? I mean, that's a big question for most of us. Like, growing up, you see children reading storybooks on, like, you know, they draw their spaceship, stars, moon, and all. But can you sustain that interest? Can you make sure that we do develop professionals working in the space sector? Because that's a new frontier. As I said, we never talk about that. You know, Starlink, right? For far-flung areas, in Basulta, I was told that teachers have access because of Starlink. Connectivity happens there because of that innovation. So how do you make it cool then? Well, for PhilSA, I guess.
Thankfully, for kids, space is naturally cool. As you said, they like stars, planets, etc. But the challenge, and you already mentioned it, is how to sustain their interest, especially when they start taking difficult subjects like the mathematics, when, okay, these are all numbers, things are becoming more abstract, and it's not as fancy as stars and galaxies anymore. So that's where we start losing interest. No? That's where the teachers actually play a big role. And with PhilSA, we are educating also the teachers to help us teach the different applications of space. So focusing on applications here. Because with space, you think, okay, stars, that's so far-fetched, or maybe, okay, what career can I have? Maybe an astronaut. But how many astronauts are there in the planet? Maybe not a lot. So is that really a realistic career for me? Now, but when the teachers talk about maps that are derived from space data, which are used to mitigate or to respond into flooding incident, or to improve the agricultural yield, to address climate change. So slowly, these things are becoming more grounded. And you think, okay, there are opportunities for me in that field. So that's what we're trying to do here, bringing space closer to home. So people could relate more, kids could relate more. And I just like to add maybe also finding role models, seeing ordinary people, not astronauts, but teachers, scientists, well, maybe not a lot of scientists, but also engineers, maybe even economists who make use of these information that are derived from space. So it's becoming more relatable and more accessible.
Broadly, you know, from space, I'd like us to focus on, it's very interesting, on the government policy, like with Dr. Cornelio, the science and technology aspect of social inclusion. So what's the direction of government when it comes to becoming inclusive in technology?
Ron, this is a great question, and siguro makakatulong para sa ating lahat kung maunawaan natin yung ginagawa muna ng Science Education Institute. Marami sa inyo, many of you might be familiar with the DOST scholarship. Some of you may have been DOST scholars. It's the Science Education Institute, our agency, that manages that. Right now, we have about 55,000 scholars from bachelor's, master's to PhD in the Philippines and around the world. So that's how generous the government is in supporting science education. Pero that's not where the inequality is. Every year, ladies and gentlemen, 100,000 Filipinos take the examination. And once the results are analyzed, that's where we see the inequality. Obviously, the rural students, the rural examinees perform much less than the students from the urban centers. In fact, our hypothesis is that the closer you are to the city, the more likely that you are going to pass our scholarship examination. That's one form of inequality. Another form of inequality is in gender. More women, 63% of our examinees this year were women, female students, grade 12 students. But, and you will not be happy to hear this, it's men who perform better. in the examination, statistically significantly better than the women, than the female students. So that's another form of inequality. The other form of inequality that I wish to highlight that we don't often talk about, and maybe this is a good opportunity to discuss this, is geographic inequality. Already I mentioned to you, ladies and gentlemen, my dear fellow panelists, that the attention is always on NCR, Region 4A, because there are so many universities in the Calabarzon area, Iloilo, Region 6, and then Region 3, Pampanga. No problem when it comes to scholarship recipients in those areas. But when you go granular with the data, Ron, you realize that it's the island provinces. In fact, there are 3 regions that are suffering in terms of scholarships in this country. The Eastern Visayas region, BARM, Bangsamoro, and the Caraga region. So for this reason, our agency, and maybe this is an answer to your question, I do not know if we can solve all of these problems in one go. Precisely because, as EDCOM puts it, the problem has to do with the first 1,000 days of the kid, the first 3 years, in effect. The problem has to do with malnutrition. The problem has to do with the nutrition of the mother. The problem has to do with reading, which up until 10 years old, you have 90% of kids who cannot read properly, and so forth. So by the time that they get to us in higher education, too late. Too late. But just the same, nothing should stop us from doing things. And kami, sa SEI, we're working with Doc Gay here and many other colleagues from various universities in providing solutions in the classroom, one of which is teacher training. Precisely because at least 90% of our teachers in STEM are not equipped to teach STEM, particularly the physical sciences, chemistry, physics, and earth science. And this has been worsened by the new curriculum, which is Spiral. I've been talking on and on, but that only goes to show, Ron, how big the problem is, and inequality exacerbates the problem, but inequality also manifests the problem. And I hope that all of us here, I think, are doing one way or another to address these problems.
But that's really true, because you cannot just address it through one area.
No, you can't.
It has to be holistic in a sense. But science and technology is a key area.
So if we're interested in increasing the interest in STEM, we cannot afford to lose kids who cannot read properly. How can they be interested in STEM when they cannot even read properly? Or for that matter, understand what they read. So I'm hoping that events like this can also magnify the situation for the rest of us.
You know, that's in the private sector, in business, for example, we've always asked, how do we prepare our people to enter the work environment? And we say, start them young, you know. I think that a common trend here is the education that they're getting at an early stage. Dep Ed, a lot of studies have shown grades 1, 2, 3, they level up, but the skill, the understanding, the writing, reading, and arithmetic do not level up. I think that's a problem. So, as Dr. Cornelio and Dr. Gay said, you know, I mean, how can you reach that stage when at the early development process is not even, you know, I guess holistic enough. So let me go to Tony here. As I said, talk about the private sector and all, but international cooperation with Expertise France. You know. You've heard the dilemma, the challenges in the Philippines. How can international cooperation promote inclusion? How can it be inclusive for women? How can our programs be inclusive for LGBT, for example? And especially with what you're doing with Expertise France.
Thank you for that. And it's so inspiring to hear like-minded individuals who also see the problem as something that is not black and white, that involves systemic perspective in really analyzing inequality in the Philippines. And in terms of international cooperation, I think what I really appreciated when I started working with Expertise France together with the European Union is that we're also lucky that we're working with agencies that have really good practices in terms of inclusivity from their continent, from Europe, and something that we could bring or also exchange, because we also have really good practices in the Philippines. Even when we talk with the members of our technical working group that are government agencies, we did a JEDC action plan, and there are a lot of good practices from the respective agencies as well. So what I want to say is that in this sphere, aside from the project itself, you have people who also see the same way why inclusivity is super important, even if the project pertains to green economy, to circular economy, to digital economy. Even whatever the topic is, inclusivity is something that should be present. And that's what I learned as well. If you've seen the lengthy introduction earlier, I work in different sectors, whether it was WASH, so water, sanitation, children, inclusivity is everywhere. So I think for us, that one of the things how we could promote inclusivity is to learn from each other, the practices in Europe, in the Philippines, the practices of from different projects of European Union, of Expertise France, and bringing that culture of inclusivity, not just in the workplace, but in every aspect of the project. The moment I entered Expertise France last year, which was the beginning of the Green Economy Partnership, it was really set to my mind already. JEDC shouldn't just be like one side quest, right? Because most of the time we have indicators, we have KPIs, and then we just want to tick our checklist. But inclusivity is more than that. It's not just putting women or LGBTQ or marginalized sector in the title of the activity, but it's really looking into from A to Z, from design, from planning to implementation to evaluation, how do we manifest inclusivity in a way that doesn't just see or recognize the marginalized sector as beneficiaries, but as leaders as well. So that's one, like for us to be a model, because we cannot preach what we do not practice. Second is to really design our interventions with inclusivity at its core. Like I mentioned, not just as a side quest, and that's why we have a JEDC action plan. But aside from that, when we also say, how do we innovate? We don't just talk about tech. That's at least for EF and with EU. When we say, how do we innovate our interventions? That's also talking about looking farther than what we can see right now. Like, how do we reach the, in terms of geographic tops to thrive here in the country? And one of the questions is that, how do you make grants inclusive? So starting from designing, we already involve the stakeholders themselves, and we make sure that we had representatives from different parts of the Philippines, different ages, different background, different gender, and so on, so that it would enrich. Because at the end of the day, diversity drives innovation, right? How could you innovate without having a wide perspective? So even from the design, a lot of people came to us saying, this is the first time we got invited to design the grant that is for us. Because most of the time, it's hard to fit, right? Like you submit a proposal and then you just make it work so that you could get funding, even though it's not exactly designed for you. What else? We did road shows and not just publish it online, because we know that a lot of people, even if you make the information available online, there would still be barrier for them to apply, because organizations from other parts of the Philippines don't have the same experiences and culture as the ones from the highly urbanized places. And that allowed us to get applications, a really wide range of applications from all over the Philippines. And then we will also launch a Circular Economy Youth Championship Development Program, so which targets the youth as the champions for circular economy. And we want to see how the youth would also make circular economy accessible in the respective locality, maybe translating knowledge products in the language in their region, or maybe really making the phrase or the language, the visuals, as inclusive as possible, and creating their own solutions as well, depending on their locality. And then, so that's another example. And the third is that recognize them, the different sectors, as leaders and change makers themselves. So I hear a lot that let's make investment available for LGBT, for women, for different sectors, which is super good. And the other side of that conversation is that how do we emphasize or highlight investors that are women, are from LGBT sector, from marginalized sectors, because they also understand better the businesses that are led by their by people who belong to their same background. So those are the three things that I want to highlight.
But definitely, because a lot of studies have also shown that if you want to solve a problem, make sure that you include the target audience in the development stage of the solution. So if you're creating solutions for women, the process in developing those solutions have to include women, for LGBT, for people with disabilities and all. But I want to go to Rhea because on the good practices, the right ecosystem, what works, what doesn't work. From your experience, what are the good practices that you've seen to help women, I guess women in technology, thrive rather in that sector?
First of all, I want to sort of echo some of the things I've already said. I think that early education is definitely very important. I think that's always being overlooked, especially when it comes to our stages, which is higher education. In my case, you're already a startup when you come, but in fact, there's a lot of gap in the early stage, and until we can, completely, I would say, overhaul the systems that are in place at that very early stage, I think that it's not very easy, to change things much later on. At the same time, I like what she said about intersectionality, which leads to my point, right? So you asked, hey, what works? She Loves Tech operates in 80-something countries, and we have startups from 100 countries. And when I look at the ecosystems that I work in, and when I say ecosystem, I'd like to focus on startup ecosystems, right? Technology ecosystems. The ones that do well have a few factors that I would like to highlight, right? So the first thing would be multi-stakeholder collaboration, highlighting the government's role in that stakeholder collaboration, right? So when I look at, let's say, countries, right, or ecosystems that do better than others, have more presence of women-led startups, have more funding going towards women-led startups. These are usually countries where you have either the local government playing a huge, number one, signaling role, right? So they have put in place a strategy, a communication strategy to tell people that it's important, right, to either invest in women or to bring diverse, people to this space, right? And with that, the rest, whether it's local governments or other government departments or private sector or whatever it is, would mobilize to make that happen as well. And the government also provides funding in other cases. Now, obviously, this is not very easy for certain countries, especially when you have a lot of other problems and you're a developing country. But can we consider the problems that we have and whether or not these stars can be the solution for those problems? One thing I'd like to highlight is that women, when they build businesses, aren't simply building businesses for the sake of building businesses. When we look at the startups that we have supported over the last years, around 15,000 of them, when we looked at the data, we actually realized that majority of them have identified as a startup that solved not just like a problem, but actually are aiming to solve like a, let's say, SDG or something else, right? So a lot of them identify as an impact startup, even though, at least from a dictionary perspective, they aren't really an impact startup, right? And it's harder to find a startup that's not really providing any meaningful value to the world than the other way around. And so when we look at, issues that we have, whether it's like climate, just the flooding that we had, can we look into the startup space to find solutions? And instead of just providing them funding for the sake of providing funding, perhaps this is another way that we could, collaborate, give them that initial support that they need to get that credibility, right? I'll talk about credibility a little bit later. So going back to my point, the government plays a very important role, actually. And in some cases, not just your local governments, also foreign government. You know, I think the EU is a perfect example. There's a lot of grants that the EU Commission provides, not just for the EU region, but also beyond. Same goes for other government agencies, and that plays a huge role, right? Which leads me to the next point. These grants and these, I would say, funding provides a big role, and also these collaborations the government provides a big role, not just because of the resource that you get, but also the credibility that you get, right? With any early stage startup, but especially women-led startups, there's that credibility required usually in the beginning, right? To continue to get further funding or otherwise, right? To get your name out there in the ecosystem. And so in working with the government, when the government, you know, in a way, you could say, promotes you through providing you some of these contracts and so on, it helps to then gives you the credibility to then enter a different type of funding, which is the venture capital world, private equity world, and so on. Because especially nowadays when the venture capital, you could say, industry is also struggling, right? And so they're a little bit more prudent with the investments that they provide. They are looking for traction, and they're looking for that credibility, that signal for credibility that shows that you're legitimate, you can provide what you're saying that you can provide, and that you're trustworthy. And so having someone like the government or otherwise providing you with that stamp of credibility goes a long way, right? And again, going back to my own mission at She Loves Tech, we are closing the funding gap for women tech entrepreneurs. With any innovation, whether it's startups or not, you know, you need a lot of funding at the start to be able to continue to iterate and further your research. And not everyone has that own funding just lying in their bank accounts. And so it's really necessary to have the access to capital. And again, unfortunately, most cases, women don't have that access, not just because they're not being invested in, but they just don't have that access. So it's important to bridge these two demographics together. And so a lot of times, different programs, different networking activities play a huge role in making this happen. And again, credibility plays a huge role. Who makes the introduction? Who makes the connection? Again, you know, provides an important role. Last but not least, I could go on and on, but just highlighting a few things. I would say intersectionality, I want to go back to that point. It's really, really important, right? So I would like to highlight two things about that. One is the customization or targeted level of support that we provide to women, and at the same time, the intersectionality of the support that we're providing. So focusing on the first, a lot of times when you think about bringing, let's say, women more into tech or whatever field that we're trying to bridge a gap in, we think about, let's say, you could say fixing the people, right? But not really fixing the system, right? When you think about women, and I don't want to talk about this actually, but it's important to realize that when we think about women, we're not just thinking about the professional side of women. We're also thinking about their personal lives and the journey that they have to go through as they, they're young all the way to when they get married, have children, and so on. And maybe in the Philippines, this may or may not be. I haven't lived in the Philippines for a long time, so please correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not as big of a problem here for various reasons. But in other places, especially, founders are still being asked whether or not they're going to be getting pregnant, getting married in the next few years. And these are even in developed countries, right? And so marriage and pregnancy and having kids is still a big barrier. And until the systems in place can, first of all, normalize, because we're not going to stop women from having children, right? And I think that humanity's evolution is having children and going on and on. But knowing that this is a reality that exists, why is it a challenge? Right? Isn't it something that we should normalize and find ways to then support instead of marginalize these people who are having children, especially when this is half of the world's population, right? And half the world's ideas that's being overlooked simply because they're getting married and having kids. There's a lot of cases where women also go into the field and leave early simply because of this. So it is a big problem, right? And again, people like me may not be able to support this, but this is where intersectionality comes. And government agencies play a huge role. A few years ago, I was in Switzerland for the World Economic Forum, and there was a huge delegation from Saudi, right? Obviously, when we look at the Middle East, a lot of people naturally assume that it's not a gender-friendly place. I don't know how many of us have looked in the news recently. The Middle East is doing very, very well when it comes to gender equality, especially Saudi. A few years ago, they set an agenda for 2030, if I'm not mistaken. And some of the goals include how many women would be in the tech space, or just the workforce in general. I think they set a goal of like 50%, something like that, or a little bit less, but within the 40-50% range. And a few years ago, they've already hit that and exceeded that, right? Why? Because they've decided to embed gender as a strategy for all their different agencies. So they didn't create a different strategy for gender, right? To bridge that gap. They decided that, okay, the OSD, let's have a gender lens. PhilSA, let's have a gender lens. DTI, let's have a gender lens. And so that helped make this an important, again, signaling, the government signaling that it's important. And second, also then making it more intersectional in approach, because most times the problem is not just the tech or the women, it's a combination, and they all relate to each other. And so that, I think, is what sets apart the different ecosystems that thrive versus that suffer or are a little bit more delayed in their approaches to bring more diversity into tech.
That's true, Ray. Like government, you have GAD, gender and development, but I think my usual comment on the GAD program of the government is it's not intentional. It's not intentional. It's not even diverse in terms of perspective. So we can really have a different session on the GAD concern of the government. But I'd like to go to the content part where we have ma'am here from Dr. Marie, like training teachers, developing more professors. How do you make sure that with the content, the educational process, we develop teachers that are actually aware and mindful of inclusion, of equity, of diversity and all?
First thing, in the Philippine Normal University, as a state university and colleges, part of SUCs, we follow the JEDC principles, and of course, in each of our syllabus, in all courses, we integrate JEDC. So that's one of the protocols of the university. The second, we recently concluded an Erasmus-funded program called Educating Science Teachers for All. And in this particular teacher training that we had, we acquired some practices from the EU partners that we had, and then brought it back to our university science educators. From there, we taught our teachers, basic education teachers. We had about 808 participants for this. And what we saw is that there is a big gap between what is being taught, because most of the resources are city-centric. So most books, textbooks are using examples from the city. And so most of our learners from the rural areas, as what Dr. JL has been mentioning, is not really taking science meaningfully because of those. The reason why our training is centered on localization, contextualization, and indigenization. So in the coming years, from 2026, we will be implementing one program from a grant, thank you very much, from the National Research Council of the Philippines, so that the title of this project is Hikayat, and we are trying to make use of indigenous knowledge practices and systems, convert that into something that can be integrated into the Matatag curriculum, and be able to bridge the gap between the city-centric science and the rural areas, specifically from the 7 major IP communities in the country: the Kankanai, Gadang, Ibanag, the Dumagat, Mamanao, what else? I think there are 7, okay. There. So our focus is to make use of their knowledges and knowledge systems so that we can make use of them to improve and sustain their interest in science. The very first reason why they do not go into sciences is that first they have to understand the language, which is basically either Filipino or English, And then after that, that's the time that they go into understanding science. So that makes two things or two works for the students. So it makes it very difficult. So that's the reason why we're trying to bridge some gap between the formal and informal learning. There, so we have some technology transfer. We have some policies that will be developed later on for this.
Is it difficult? I mean, like, from your exposure and experience with the content development, getting teachers, are we getting there? Like,
From our first experience in ESTA, we call it Educating Science Teachers for All. From the 808, we had very good feedback. And the good thing is that they were able to produce hook videos. And these are the things that we wanted to produce so far in the next program that we'll be having. The hook videos are 1-minute science experiment videos. They are delivered by the teachers themselves in their language, but there are subtitles in English, or they are subtitled in English. And they can be shown to students from kinder to tertiary, actually, and it depends on the teacher on how they're going to use it. Is this motivational? Is this going to be a specific experiment for them? Is this an additional work? Is this a synchronous work, etc.? So it depends on the modality that the teacher would be using.
well, thank you, Dr. Marie. I hope after this panel we're a bit more optimistic. You know, I think
Or pessimistic.
like Rhea, I mean, like the goal of this conversation is to really, talk about realities on the ground, but at the same time, the entry points. I mean, how else we can collaborate, how else we can move forward. So I understand we have some representatives from the EU Youth Sounding Board who are members of YSB, and they do like to ask some questions to some of our panelists here or to all. Please introduce yourself and state your question to our panelists. Is the mic working? Okay.
Check, mic, check, check.
And, hi everyone, good evening. Assalamualaikum. I am Mahatma Sanggakala from Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao with the law, education. And then I am with my EU Youth Sounding Board fellows with Rhea and then John, and of course French, but he needs to fly because of schedule. And we are from Youth Sounding Board, who is advising the EU for their programs related to youth, and that's us. So my question is, it's our question actually. We are talking about STEM, we are talking about space, and then we are talking about now about inclusivity. And since we are mostly working with the grassroots areas, in the far-flung areas, in the island provinces, in the armed conflict areas, or the GDAS. And our question is, how can we make this, how can we localize it, and then integrate it together with the culture and the traditions in the communities so that it would be interesting with the people from different backgrounds. For example, the traditions of the Magindanaon people are these, and they see STEM like this, and they, in the farming, kanina pinag-usapan natin kung paano makakatulong ang isang satellite in mapping the areas. Kung ano yung suitable crops for this area, what are the suitable crops for this region. And then, ang sa kanila, tinitingnan nila ang stars, they do something like, parang superstitious na siya, but it's proven and tested in generations. So how can we integrate that, the STEMs that we are advocating in the PILSAS? And then also, yun nga, sabi nga na medyo low yung kwan natin in the GDAS areas. Maybe because of other factors, tulad nga ng sinabi natin na dapat together with advocating modern knowledge, we also need indigenous knowledge, as we call it in social science, no? Indigenous knowledge. Because, in our community, especially in BARM, familiar naman kayo doon, na there are lots of engineers, lots of scientists, but forced to, hold something to defend themselves because of the armed conflicts. There are lots of Albert Einsteins, lots of Oppenheimers in the community, but forced to hold something to defend themselves because of the situation. And I don't know if the current design of our STEM and in advancing STEM is proactive on that, and we'll answer that. Inshallah, we want more innovators and we want more workforce to work on this because this is the future, inshallah.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for being here. It's nice to have a BARM representative here, Rarely do we see them being, represented here. But who'd like to take that question? Localization, ma'am.
All right. Let me go first. No? Particularly your first two questions. Now, how do you provide localized solutions? So first is you need to understand their needs. I think it's very important. You cannot provide a blanket solution. There's no such thing as one size fits all. I had this experience in one of our projects where we go to the community and initially you were telling them, hey, we have this for you, we prepared this and that, only to realize that that's not what they need. So it's very important to understand it, and it varies quite a bit. No? The next thing is to provide the tool or the way in order to get the information reach these local communities. Because you can have good solutions, or in our case, good maps, but if they don't reach those who we intend to reach, then it's useless, basically. So you have to have that means, and that's where digital connectivity comes in. And it's really a very powerful tool because it allows access to the vast information that is available to everyone. Actually, they call it the equalizer, because people in the city or in the rural areas will have access to the same type of information. So that's very important.
May I add to that? Mahatma, thank you for the question. I'm not sure if I'm audible because I cannot hear myself, but I'm just trying to explain myself here. I'll speak not only as a sociologist, but as the head of a national government agency. And from my experience, from my limited, humble experience as director of SEI, Ron and my colleagues, it matters that somebody from the national government agency is present in the realities of our local communities. To drive home the point, Mahatma, noong April, ako ang nag-volunteer, and narinig ko first time ito na ang director nag-volunteer na magpa-exam. At nagpa-exam ako kasi nagpa-exam ako specifically sa Basilan kasi wala nagvo-volunteer na magpa-exam sa Basilan. Ako, ang rule ko, the harder it is, the more likely I'm gonna go there. Maybe because of my training as a sociologist. Even before joining SEI, I was already doing a lot of work sa Marawi and Mindanao, so never afraid of these things. Without realizing that that little moment, that short weekend that I had in Basilan was going to be transformative sa akin. I was with my team, Office of the Director, si Dwayne was with me here. That was when we realized, just to drive home the point of how inequality is exacerbated by geography. We realized, we saw 200 envelopes, Mahatma, applications of our high school students from Basilan who did not make it kasi they did not realize that they were supposed to upload those applications. Galit na galit kami. We were in tears just realizing how the absence of electricity, reliable electricity, yes, there's Starlink, but it's expensive, etc., how it takes the director to realize that, no, the online application process is not going to work for everyone. Thankfully, part of my team was the very head of the IT of SEI. Ganun kami sa Office of the Director right now. Aligaga, we just go wherever I want to go and then they have to follow me. And that was when they realized na, okay, J.E.L., Dr. Cornelio, we cannot impose this online application. So what did we do? For our junior level examination, so just 2 weeks ago, we administered our examination for incoming third year. It's a special scholarship scheme dun sa mga gustong maghabol. So what we did was, we dropped the online application system for Basilan, or we modified it in such a way na kami deliberately, we will work closely with the Provincial Science, Tech, and Tech Office. They will accept the documents, and then we will help them process these documents. Just because of that simple intervention, 2 weeks ago, bumalik kami ng team namin, 36 second-year students took the examination. And I am hoping, so that's just the first step. That's just the first step. The next step is to make sure that at least one of them passes this examination. That to me is a concrete answer to a difficult problem. Policies cannot be imposed from the center. Policies need to be developed as experienced people like us with people who suffer. And together we suffer. That's a sociologist talking.
Thank you, Dr. Canel.
May I add to that as well, on the classroom level. Instead of teacher ang magtuturo sa mga estudyante natin, lalo na sa mga IPs, ang gusto naming mangyari, itap ang mga elders nila. Sila ang aming turuan ng science content. Para may katulong kami, kasi mahirap kausapin pag hindi kayo nagkakaintindihan ng lingwahe. So, yun ang gusto naming isama doon sa aming proyektong gagawin. Kaya hikayat, parang ganon.
Thank you, ma'am. Tony, you like to add before we move to the next question?
Thank you. I want to add and utilize this very beautiful question. I just want to highlight that I think the funders, program implementers, and decision makers also have to change our mindset. When I came in, I saw this amazing display. It reminded me of how limitless space could be. But in fact, the observable part of space is finite based on humans' perspective because we can only see what our technology allows us to see, right? But maybe it's far more limitless than what we could imagine. And I think that's something that reminds me of human potential. Wherever you are, maybe you're in a mountain, you live by the sea, you're in far-flung areas, maybe you're LGBT, you're women, you have disabilities. It doesn't mean that your potential is limited. It's just that the structures that we have in place, the perspective that people have, the culture, the social constructs, those are the limiting factors that prevent us from seeing your full potential. So where do we come in as international agency and in this international project? When we create, for example, the digital economic package that you could expect in the coming year, it's also going to support entrepreneurs so that they could utilize space data to also expand what their business could do, the operations, etc. They don't have to be a space person or a tech person, but someone that we could capacitate and provide resources so they could utilize space data to improve the solutions that they're already providing for the Philippines. So that's where we come in. We provide or design a program that could unlock that potential, not just by accessing space data, but also making sure that it doesn't exclude people just because we have this bias that, okay, only people who have this certain type of education, who live in urban areas, who graduated, or who are, I don't know, like has a degree or are men or people that we have biases that could handle tech or space data. I think we need to be able to understand that we could give funding to organizations who know that specific locality, that specific stakeholders, and trust that they know best how to utilize their resources and technical expertise to actually make those people who don't necessarily have access right now to technology be able to utilize that.
Thank you, Tony. Another question from, yes, please introduce yourself and state your question.
Hello, good afternoon to the panel. I'm actually one of the organizers of this event from the Philippine Space Agency. So yes, meron po tayong space agency sa
Finally.
Pilipinas. Ito po yung manifestation natin ng program, ng agency po na ito. And thank you very much for being here. And please help spread the word about what we already have and what the Philippines is already capable of. I'm Joe Briones from Public Relations of PhilSA, and I'm a science communicator. So this is a very important topic for me, since not only is it my interest, but also it is my job and profession. So I had to write down my question because I needed to make it clearer. So I think Rhea mentioned about marriage and also pregnancy being big barriers when it comes to careers in STEM. And we know that women in STEM, and especially those from marginalized backgrounds po, we often face different expectations than their male peers. So for example, caregiving roles, especially in early childhood development, messes up citations. So how my DOST or DOST SEI field more even on the mandate side of things?
If you want to start first, because you're from PhilSA and I'm from PhilSA also, but he wants me to start. Well, at least there is this mechanism, okay? And if we can implement it correctly, it's a very useful program that the government has. It mandates the agency to spend at least 5% of its budget for gender and development. So it exists, the mechanism exists. Now the challenge is coming up with programs and intervention that really create impact and not superficial or not a checklist kind of activities or compliance type of activity. So that's the challenge. Now with PhilSA, we are still young, but we have actively, or we are conscious about how we can address this in our plans when we are designing our building or in our future headquarters in New Clark City. So we're looking at providing facilities that would cater to the needs of women, like lactation room. I know there's a wish list for a daycare center, so something that the management and the leadership can actually look into. So yes, we are doing that, and the good thing about PhilSA is as a new agency, there's a lot of room to actually do this, be mindful about the needs of women. Now,
Dr. Cornelio.
This is a tough question. I can celebrate the milestones of SEI in terms of the struggle for gender equality. Right now, 50% of our scholars are women, bachelor's, master's, PhD. Right now, we also have specific programs for young people targeted at girls, and we want them to be interested in robotics. In a way, we're doing good stuff. But I also want to admit that I think, like many other agencies, the tendency is to just tick the boxes in gender and development. But you see, I was a professor of development studies before joining SEI. And I know that development is not about ticking the boxes. Development is about, from my point of view, participatory, involving the marginalized groups, and women in this case, in designing spaces, policies, and projects that would benefit the communities. I think we're going to get there slowly. Slowly. I cannot say that we have arrived just yet, but I would like to argue that we have a strong GAD committee, for example. And just recently we passed our own policy, and there, when it was in its original form, puro women pa lang. And that's not a problem. But I also know that gender in development now is not just about women. It's also about the LGBTQ+. And many of us are afraid to confront that because we don't know just yet how to deal with the LGBTQ+. I think for many of us, and Ron, you are very familiar with this. So I deliberately asked our committee, please put the LGBTQ+ throughout the document. Right. And now it's there. So now I can say that if anybody in SEI gets discriminated against for being a butch or being a lesbian or being gay, the policy will be used against them. At the very least, we have those policies. Finally, I also want to highlight how important it is for a national agency like ours to be really working with different sectors, women, but also the LGBTQ+. Kasi, yes, women are marginalized, but I think the LGBTQ+ are also marginalized, especially in academic spaces, where science is very masculine. You look at our scholarship programs, our courses, the men dominate civil engineering. The women dominate BS biology. And many of them will become teachers, or will choose to become teachers, and BS education. So I think we also need to work a lot more, do a lot more to break those stereotypes, if I may put it that way. Sige, thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Cornelius. So I guess we move on to the wrap-up session of our discussion. I will be asking each panelist to give your last statement, closing statement on this particular question. How do you envision an inclusive STEM, STEM for all of us? I mean, what's your vision for that? Maybe start with Dr. Marie.
For me, inclusive STEM would be access to good quality STEM education, not only for our mainstream students, but also for our IP students and the underrepresented groups, the women, the children, and all others.
Thank you, Dr. Marie. Tony?
Thank you. I would like to see a world where we have created enough space for any person to be able to take space. And as a queer person myself, as a lesbian, I could say that on stage because I'm super comfortable in my workplace. And that says a lot about Expertise France, or about my colleagues in EU and in our whole consortium in the EU Green Economy Partnership. And we have a lot of queer people who are working towards green transition. So I hope that we would create spaces that actually attract people naturally in STEM because the spaces are inclusive enough for them to thrive.
Thank you. I'm biased towards that. Thank you, Tony. Rhea?
Actually, I was still thinking about it while you were talking. I was like, which one do I say? But I think one thing I'd like to say is that even though I've been working in the diversity space for the last over 10 years, for me, it's both easy and hard. Easy in a sense, I feel like, a lot of things are common sense. But because a lot of things are also systemic in nature, it's very difficult, right? And for me, sometimes also split-second moments, I also think, maybe let's give up, right? Having said that, since we're in the Space Week, I'd like to say that, we chose to go to space this decade, not because it was easy. It's especially because it was difficult, right? And I think that's what's inspirational about humanity. We're a species of evolution, and we choose to do things because it's difficult, and we choose to evolve for that reason. And so I hope that, especially, we have a lot of young people, the youth sounding board here, that, we can all play our individual roles to become that bridge, right? One thing I just like to quickly say is that earlier you were asking about bridging different generations, you could say. It's not just about rural and urban, but it's also generations. And I hope that you and those people who are actually living there, who have access to spaces like this, can become that bridge and go back and create that channel for communication. By the way, I just like to say, you mentioned superstition and all these things, and I sincerely believe that we're only barely scratching the surface in terms of the knowledge that we know, and a lot of these so-called superstitions could be something that down the line we realize are facts. And there are also technologies currently that are exploring these things. So it's about exposure and bringing our lived experiences into conversations, and hopefully that can bridge a lot of misunderstanding and bring more opportunity to bringing more different types of people to this space.
Thank you, Rhea. Dr. Gay?
So for me, an inclusive digital future is a place where individuals are all visible. No one is invisible, and everyone, regardless of age, gender, location, are empowered to lead, innovate, and thrive. And we have institutions that provide data-driven solutions and services.
Thank you.
Ang hirap na
And-
masundan nun. um, um, in the spirit of Philippine Space Week, yung pangarap ko ay para sa mga kabataan, every space is safe. Safe na mangarap, at yung pangarap mataas agad. Safe na maniwalang kaya niyang maging astronomer one day. Safe na hindi siya huhusgahan kasi bakla siyang gusto niyang maging engineer. Safe siya na isipin na kaya niya rin magawing katulad ni Doc Gay here, na isang professor but also a government official making dreams come true para sa buong bansa. Para sa akin, yun ang gusto kong mangyari. Kaya ako pumasok din sa gobyerno, leaving my comfortable place in Ateneo and joining SEI.
Thank you very much to our panelists. A round of applause. A few points before we really wrap up. I mean, I guess, ang pick up natin dito, when we leave this stage, when you leave Gateway, number one, 3 I's, I get. You have to be intentional. Always be intentional on what you do. When you try to provide inclusion, diversity, equity, and all, make sure that your programming is intentional. It's not a byproduct. It's not an afterthought. You have to include that in the programming. Second, immerse yourself. We need to immerse ourselves. Sometimes we talk about things that we're not even familiar or that we're not even exposed to. So immersion is key. Geographic inclusion will only be, I guess, addressed if immersed into these areas. Understand the localization, understand what's going on out there. And lastly, of course, me in the LGBT advocacy space, the intersectionality definitely matters to us. It's not just about developing professionals in the STEM sector, but also understanding their lived experiences, where they're coming from, women, LGBT, youth sector. So the intersectionality is a reality that we have to take note of. So with those 3 I's, be intentional, immerse yourself, and know the intersectionalities. I guess we're doing a very fabulous conversation today. Hopefully, we still talk about this, and at this point, I'd like to call on our colleagues from, well, of course, from the EU delegation, Maria, and to give us the token. Ada, you'll also be joining to give us the tokens to our esteemed panelists. So, should we all stand now? Okay. Are you saying something, or are you going to present? We'll just present. Okay, sure. So this is the graduation part, I guess. Thank you, ma'am. It's just really challenging, but someone needs to do it, no? Okay, Ada and Maria. First, we'd like to give our token to Dr. Cornelio. I'll probably will distribute everything and then we take a photo with everyone. Dr. Gay. It's quite heavy. Rhea. And Tony. It's a Philippine. Do we all have Philippine maps in our places? Wala ano? Do you have a map on your wall? Make sure it's the right map, ha? Oh, thank you very much. Okay, but this is beautiful. So, thank you, Maria. Okay, so we'll take a photo. my dear colleagues and attendees, again, thank you to all our panelists. At this point, I'd like to call on Joe Briones to give us the more information on what's happening for Space Week and to wrap, I guess as we close the program for this afternoon. Joe, you have the floor.
Thank you very much to our panelists and our moderator. That was a very wonderful conversation. I hope it had opened some of our minds as well as encouraged us to talk about these things more, because we want to make this a safe space and we want to make sure that you find your place in space. So that was the panel discussion of gender in an inclusive workplace in STEM. Thank you very much to our colleagues from the EU delegation and COPFIL. That ends our series of programs for the stage today, August 8th, 2025, but the exhibit area is still open. So sa lahat po ng ating mall goers, yes, I am pointing to you guys up there. This exhibit is free for all and free of charge. So come here at the Philippine Space Week exhibit. Yes, may space agency po ang Pilipinas. Alamin po natin ang mga ginagawa ng mga na activities and outputs ng Philippine Space Agency at mga kaibigan po natin sa iba't ibang government agencies, universities, private companies, and organizations. So, hashtag Yamang Kalawakan. I-celebrate po natin ito. Mabuhay po ang Yamang Kalawakan. And don't forget to tag us and post about your experience here at Phil Space Agency on Facebook and all social media platforms. So everyone, please come on down, come inside, and let's enjoy the first day of the Philippine Space Week exhibit. Maraming salamat po at mabuhay ang Yamang Kalawakan.
We are celebrating Philippine Space Week from August 8 to 14. And this marks the signing of the Philippine Space Act, Republic Act 11363, anniversary of the establishment of the Philippine Space Policy and the Philippine Space Agency.
Patalasan sa Yamang Kalawakan Ideation Contest, a celebration of the limitless potential of our youth and a testament to the growing interest in space science and technology applications.
Gusto nyo bang maglakbay? So ang kwento natin ngayon, ang pamagat ay si Tala at ang kanyang lakbay, Kalawakan.
Pinangunahan naman ni Pangulong Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. ang 8th Philippine Space Council meeting.
We are celebrating Philippine Space Week from August